Very proud to know that it's actually real film. It's not a video game. People are living there.
I know this looks like animation, but it's actually really real.
I love this video because it looks like animation. It doesn't look real, but it is real.
I love this video because it looks like animation, like something that somebody made, but it's actually real footage from the space shuttle, just sped up just a little bit.
And this is a little video. It's about 4 minutes long here. So there's the space station. I love that this is not animation. This is film taken by a shuttle of the space station. And so this is real. It's not animation.
Now, this looks like animation, and I'm very proud to know that it's actually real film. It's not a video game. People are living there.
I know this looks like animation, but it's actually really real.
I love this video because it looks like animation. It doesn't look real, but it is real.
I love this video because...
So you spin, when you spin pizza dough, it's kind of flat.
And I'm very proud to know that it's actually real film. It's not a video game. People are living there.
I know this.
How many of you have seen videos like the one at the top right here on YouTube? Top 10 reasons why we know the Earth is round. Well, first of all, round doesn't just apply to a globe. I see a bunch of people sitting at round tables right here. So you need to lose that word. The video I'm going to show you, it took me a long time to do this. When I first started looking into this, long before I ever committed to what I believe now, I looked at these videos. I mean, like everybody else, I started out as a skeptic. I'm going to disprove this, start looking for videos and stuff, easy things to prove that the Earth's a globe, right? So you do a Google search, and that's one of the videos that pops up. It's got several million views. Top 10 reasons why we know the Earth is round. Back in 2015, early in 2015, I watched that video, and even before even considering becoming a flat earther, I thought, wow, I could easily debunk all of those. Not even being committed. So your top 10 reasons aren't that impressive. So what I did was I sat down, and I know a lot of others did the same thing. I started to show how they're easily debunked and did videos on it. And of course, brevity's never been my strong point. If you look up my videos, I got a playlist for the top 10 reasons. Somebody else, Seventh Day Truth Seeker, combined all of my videos. It came out to over 6 hours long. So I took those 6 hours and did my best to try to distill it down for something that I can use in this presentation. So for the next 45 minutes, you're going to see a condensed version of my debunking the top 10 reasons. If you want to see the rest of them, you've got 6 hours of time. You can watch the longer one on my YouTube channel. So here we go, debunking the top 10 reasons.
Number 10. All the other planets and stars we've ever seen are round, and there's no reason to indicate that the Earth should be any different.
Okay, that's an interesting assumption, but it's not a proof. It's like looking at a pool table and saying, wow, all the billiard balls are spherical. Well, that means the table must be too. Or looking up and seeing the lights overhead. Oh, the light bulbs are spherical, therefore the table must be too. No, that's not a proof of anything.
Number 9. Time zones. Day and night happen at different times at different places on Earth. In fact, it's always day somewhere and night somewhere else.
Okay, time zones. I think part of the problem is people who come from the spinning heliocentric globular Earth model, as soon as they hear flat, they just try to squish the Earth into a pancake and keep everything else the way it is in the heliocentric globular Earth model. Meaning, okay, now you just got this flat disk inside a solar system. And they try to apply the dynamics of the solar system in a massively huge sun 93 million miles away, over a flat Earth, and apply what they know in that paradigm to this paradigm. Well, that doesn't work. If we're on a circular, still flat Earth set on pillars under a dome within which the sun, moon, and stars were placed on day 4, according to the Bible, then the sun and moon are what's moving, and the stars are what are moving, not the Earth, and therefore they are a lot closer and a lot smaller. So I created this animation. You guys have probably seen this. A lot of people have used it in their videos and stuff like that. It got mirrored. Now, I stated right from the start this was not meant to be to scale. This one's a little better. I still think the sun may be a little bit too big, but you see the sun going over the equator here at an altitude of approximately 3,000 miles, according to this scale right here. And a lot of people will say, well, you know, what is the sun acting like a spotlight? No, it's not acting like a spotlight. And to prove that, I'll bring in a little 3D object here, and I'll bring in a little dome on top of it here to show you that this light is throwing off in all directions, up, down, all around. It's not a spotlight. So all the critics out there, you can stop saying that. It's not shining as a spotlight. It's what's known in 3D as a point light that has been adjusted with a limited light throw attenuation. Now, shortly after I did that video, I was trying to figure out how the 4 seasons work, and you can see that video right here on YouTube, how the 4 seasons work on the flat Earth model. And that one was really interesting. I actually discovered this quite by accident, really. This video came as a result of me trying to figure out on the globe, how does the 24-hour sun work? And so I used Stellarium, which is heliocentric globe-based software. And this software, heliocentric globe-based software, showed the sun and moon speeding up and slowing down as it was creating these circles. And I just thought, well, geez, I wonder what that would look like on the flat Earth map, on the AE map. So I just superimposed it on that, and then I just flipped it horizontally because I'm looking down instead of looking up. And it actually showed the sun and moon going between the tropics and slowing down when it gets in the northern so-called hemisphere and speeding up when it gets in the southern hemisphere. But of course, the critics look at this and they ask a reasonable question.
Does it change speeds? Because the circle's bigger out here in the wintertime going around the Tropic of Capricorn. So what is speeding the sun up and then slowing it back down? It was constantly changing directions and speeds with your model.
Yes, it was. Again, heliocentric globe-based software created that. And interestingly enough, I found a video online that a guy went apparently on the Tropic of Cancer at a certain time of the year, on the equator, and on the Tropic of Capricorn, and videotaped the moon going across the screen. Now, he had it at double speed, and I made it a lot faster just for the sake of this video, but sure enough, the moon was moving at different speeds across his lens. Fastest over the Tropic of Capricorn, medium over the equator, and slowest over the Tropic of Cancer. I'd be curious to see how the globers explain this. But at least the moon here reflected exactly what Stellarium, heliocentric globe-based software, had depicted. And I can only assume if the moon's doing this, the sun must be doing the same thing, though I'm unaware of any tests that have been done in that regard.
Number 8. The Coriolis effect means freely moving things like cannonballs or hurricane winds are deflected to the right, but only if you're north of the equator. If you're south of the equator, they're deflected left.
Okay, number 8. The Coriolis effect.
Is not flat. It is 2022 and we should not be having this discussion, but I'm just so angry right now. How can you believe the Earth is flat? What's next? Vaccines cause autism? Pigeons aren't real? Global warming is a hoax? Stupid. We're a stupid species, and my friend Daryl, whom I bumped into the other day, is the stupidest of all. And I don't want to be mean, but I just couldn't believe my ears when he said that the Earth is flat, and he's convinced. So, here we go, Daryl. We're doing this one last time. The Earth is a sphere was propounded by the Greeks in the 3rd century BC. The 3rd century BC. The Society of Flat Earthers, founded in the 1950s, has encouraged a tribe of modern-day believers who claim that the Earth is a flat disk. Any evidence to say it is round or spherical, for example, photos of the Earth taken from the ISS, are debunked as a hoax. To add to that, they claim that multiple governments are involved in the conspiracy. Although the flat earthers, if we can call them that, differ largely on how a flat Earth works, believers have made up convoluted versions of physics and science with creative interpretation of the solar system to support their theory. The major theory says that the Earth is a disk, with the Arctic Circle in the centre and the Antarctica, comprising of a 150-foot or 45-metre wall of ice, enclosing the rim. In a hilarious twist, they also claim that NASA employees are guarding this wall and preventing people from climbing over and falling off the disc-shaped Earth. What? Do they even listen to themselves? NASA has better things to do, like launching a $10 billion telescope to unveil the secrets of our universe. And while there are countless reasons to demonstrate that the Earth is not flat, here are a few that should get through to their thick skulls. 1. Climb a tree, or go to a higher plane. You are standing on a flat plateau. There is but one single tree in the center. First, try looking far into the horizon while standing at the base of the tree. Now, climb the tree as high as you can and look out. The higher you climb, the further your line of sight will be, extending to the horizon. This is simply because the Earth is round. The parts of the Earth hidden because of its roundness are revealed when the position changes. If the Earth were flat, your vision from both positions would extend exactly the same distance. 2. Watch a ship sail off into the sea. Next time you're at a harbour or a port, try this experiment. Keep a lookout for a ship appearing or leaving the port. What do you see when a ship is approaching land? It seems to emerge from beneath the sea, the tallest part of the ship being seen first. This is because the Earth is round. Were it flat, we would see the whole ship coming at us the entire time. Now try the reverse. Watch a ship sail away. The mast and flag appear to fade away into the distance and sink into the water, like you're watching the ship sail away over the other side of a hill. This can only be explained because the Earth is spherical. 3. Watch a lunar eclipse. A lunar eclipse is a sure way to prove the Earth is round. In a lunar eclipse, when the Earth's orbit places Earth directly between the Moon and the Sun, it creates a shadow on the Moon's surface. This shadow is oval. This proves that the Earth is not only round, but spherical, and beyond a shadow of a doubt, not flat. 4. Watch a sunset. Now, let's watch a sunset from 2 points to prove our theory. One would be an open space with the horizon in front of you. The second would be an elevated point, like a hillock or a tall building behind you, which you can quickly access. Watch the sun as it sets from the wide open space. As soon as the sun disappears, quickly move to the elevated point behind you. You will be able to see the sun above the horizon. If Earth were flat, the sun would not be seen at any elevation once it had set. But because it's round, the sun will come back into your line of sight at a height. 5. Travelling through different time zones. How do you explain the time difference in different cities across the globe? For example, it is 9 a.m. in New York with people ready to go to work, 10 p.m. in Beijing with people already having finished their day, and 1 a.m. in Sydney the following day. This can only be possible if the world we live on is a globe, rotating on its own axis. When the sun is shining on one part of the Earth, the opposite side is dark, and vice versa, allowing thus for time differences and time zones, especially ones that are more than 12 hours. If the world were flat, with the sun shining on top of it, you would see it all the time. The only way there are distinct time zones with some areas in darkness while others have light is if the world is round. 6. The stick experiment. Try placing a stick into the ground. It will produce a shadow when the sun is overhead, but with time the shadow will move. That's because the Earth is round. By virtue of Earth's curvature, the sun will hit one part of Earth at one angle and another part of Earth at a different angle, even at the same time of day. If the Earth were flat, different sticks placed at different locations would produce the same shadow. 7. Triangles. If you walk 10,000 kilometers straight along the Earth's surface, turn 90 degrees to your right, walk 10,000 kilometers more, turn right again, and walk another 10,000 kilometers, you'll be back to where you started. You will have made a triangle with 3 90-degree angles. This is impossible on a flat surface, proving once again that Earth is round. 8. Changing stars. The stars at night change as you go north or south. For example, Orion is upside down if you're in Australia. Would that be possible if Earth was flat? 9. The Coriolis effect. The Coriolis effect denotes the pattern of deflection of objects not firmly connected to the ground as they travel long distances around the Earth. That means that things like cannonballs or hurricane winds that are freely moving would get deflected to the right if you're north of the equator. If you're south of the equator, they get deflected to the left. If Earth were flat, this would not happen. 10. Photos from space. Mankind has come a long way with advances in space exploration. Satellites, probes, and people all have been sent into space. Some of them have returned and brought with them some amazing photos of the Earth. And in all of them, the Earth is round, with its curves clearly visible. After all, seeing is believing, isn't it? These are just a few ways we know that the Earth is round. Can you think of other ways that show the Earth is round and not flat? Share your thoughts with us in the comments below.
Today we're going to be speaking with Professor Michael Gambone, who teaches history at Kutztown University of Pennsylvania, specializing in modern America, also is author of the forthcoming book, Modern Conspiracies in America, Separating Fact from Fiction. It's out in less than 2 weeks. Really great to have you on. I appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is a great opportunity, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, so this is such an important topic right now in the United States of America, kind of in the era of COVID vaccines, Trumpism, flat Earth, the 2020 election. We could kind of go on and on and on. We've talked quite a bit about general techniques and strategies to talk to people about beliefs that may not be based in fact. But I think we can all kind of feel that there's a difference between the belief that tax cuts for the rich are good for the economy, kind of in one bucket. And on the other side, the belief that, I don't know, there is a secret plot to create the COVID pandemic in order to create an opportunity to vaccinate people, which will then allow mind control and, on and on and on. We can feel that there's sort of some difference between those two things. Can you first talk a little bit about the difference between beliefs that might just be wrong and what we would characterize as a conspiracy theory?
Yeah, I think when I started teaching this class, I really wanted it to be a research class. How do you figure out how to apply a basic template for logic? So what I always tell the students, I said, you have a claim, it has to be matched with a proof. It has to be. And then we can talk about degrees of evidence. So we just finished up Sandy Hook and QAnon in my class. And one of the tells that you have is if you have somebody making a claim simply followed by more claims with no proof in the following in the wake of that, then that's a huge flag. So, and that's what you tend to always want. I tell them, tune your ear to that. When you hear this kind of hopscotching, gish gallop, moving along the surface type of approach, if it has no depth, then that's a problem. So we can talk about tax cuts and economics, fine. But if you're going to claim that a microchip was in the COVID vaccination, show me the proof. And the other way I look at it, if you have the big claims, the giant global conspiracies, big claim requires big proof. It's the same, basically the same idea, but it's just a bigger threshold.
Is there a shortcut not to changing people's minds? We'll get later to the changing of minds, but to being able to ascertain whether you're speaking to someone who's open to revising their views?
I think so. I think you start, I think one of the things I said in the book is you apply the 80-20 rule. You should be starting off by listening more than talking. And I think that's a skill, unfortunately, we're losing in civil discourse. And that's something I'm trying to teach in class, to sit back and listen, because teachers are the worst at this. We're talkers. We have captive audiences. So first thing, listen, see where they're coming from. One of the key things you need to know is the context. Where are they? Where do they live? And so on. You're basically trying to build a profile of the person you're talking to, and simply, you don't want to go right to a quick conclusion and dismiss them. So that's what you're always doing in any conversation.
There's the other kind of side to this, and I hesitate to ever say there's another side to things when we're really talking about kind of one-sided circumstances, but sometimes you will hear the claim from some who assert conspiratorial beliefs that you just accept everything everybody tells you. You always accept the official story. You accept what the government says. Medicine has been wrong. Science has been wrong. Governments have lied, etc. What's the best way to kind of handle that idea and approach that?
Yeah, I think I tell them, and I have a lot of criminal justice majors, but I think in general, treat this like you would if you're on a jury. So you have a burden of proof, but one thing you're never going to have is 100% certainty. So you have to reach that level to say, is it 51% enough? Do I need more? So that's how you're measuring this. And also, we were just talking about this this week. Evidence evolves. You have examples where, in some of these, conspiracies, you're going to have revelations that might take decades, or technology will change, and you'll have better ways to analyze something. So patience is also a virtue for both of those things. And that's, again, you're trying to teach Americans patience. That's an ongoing enterprise.
Do you address the idea of sometimes one might assert a certain belief, not because they actually believe it, but because it signals that they're part of a team? And I'll give an example of that. After the 2020 election, there was polling done about, do you believe Trump won? And the numbers among Republicans at the time were quite high. I think in the immediate aftermath, it was like 57%, and that number has waned over time. But within that 57%, presumably there were some what we might call true believers who literally believe Trump actually won. But then there are others for whom claiming it signals support for Trump or identifies them with the team, for lack of a better term. Where does that figure into the studies and the work that you do?
I think I've used a lot of polling and a lot of analysis of polling, especially by an author named Berinsky. You have influencers. I mean, that's a new term, but you've always had people who lead opinions because they're trusted, they have agency, they're public officials. So people will tend to rely on that, and they can guide that, or they can abuse it. I think Joe McCarthy is a classic example. But one of the things that came up in QAnon, of all the reading I did, Wired Magazine had a great story on, how QAnon is like an alternate reality game. So what you have is you have a universe. Basically it's world building. So you've got certainty and rewards. So within that group, you have that recognition. And I think what that lends people in very uncertain times, and this is very historical. I mean, you could have said this in 1919 or today. It gives people an anchor to hang on to in a very difficult, fearful, uncertain time. So whether I'm a leader or a follower, I mean, there are uses for these things that can be manipulated.
Yeah, that you touched on something which we've talked about before, which is if you take something like Sandy Hook as an example, or 9/11 maybe are good examples of this. Sometimes it seems like one of the primary motivating factors in getting people to choose one of these assertions rather than what we might call the official empirically based version of the story is that the randomness with which bad things happen in the world is extraordinarily unsettling. And so for some folks, it's almost more pacifying to believe it wasn't a random thing that could have happened at any time. It was planned, it was deliberate, and there's more certainty in the world. Is that an important psychologically motivating factor for more than just a few of these?
Absolutely. I use a book by Rob Brotherton called Suspicious Minds, and he talks about the messy desk test, where people instinctively want to impose order on something that's simple, but that applies to a lot of things in life. So rather than be overwhelmed, you make this construct, and it works toward intellectual values, but also, you could say instinct, what you might seem as common sense. So one of the things we suspect is always threats, and we tend to associate these threats with the other. And it could, usually, the brand new immigrant. I mean, that's a classic nativist go-to in a lot of these conspiracies. You saw that in 16 with, the 3 million boats. It's a constant drumbeat, even during COVID. Who's bringing COVID? Well, these other people, them. That's why when I first started the class, I looked at the protocols of the Elders of Zion, and it's amazing how that keeps coming back in different forms, but it's basically the same thing. That's about as old a story as it gets, but I saw updates to this year. It's amazing.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about anti-Semitism. As a Jewish person myself, I've been aware of anti-Semitism for as long as I can remember being aware of anything. And a lot of the modern conspiracy theories, sometimes much more subtly than others, go back to or have their roots in an anti-Semitic idea. The idea of the other bringing disease. That's a classic anti-Semitic idea from, 800, 900 years ago, at least. Globalist now often used as a sort of catch-all for wealthy Jewish men, right? When they talk about Soros, they talk about Klaus Schwab is a big one here. Can you talk a little bit about where the origins of so many of these things stemmed from anti-Semitism, and whether even some of the conspiracy theorists realize that?
I don't think they do, although it's been constantly pointed out. So for QAnon, you have, the endless stories about blood drinking and child trafficking. And the first thing I automatically think of is the blood libel, which goes back for centuries. So I think at the root of a lot of these conspiracies, and I think Richard Hofstadter pointed this out really well, you've got a moral judgment that you're making. You're posing a moral threat, not just a political or a social or an economic one. So you've got this group of identified outcasts that you're posing as a threat to the social order. And you can go very viscerally, in the case of QAnon, with the children. So that's a very consistent theme, of threats to children, whether it's the Middle Ages or right now. And we can always associate that with this, labeled outcast group. It keeps reoccurring because it works. It's odd to see anyone's going to argue against protecting children. I mean, it's very altruistic, but it can be very easily distorted. And it is. I saw this during the Supreme Court nomination.
What do you make of flat Earth surging at a time when we have the most advanced technology we've ever had and the most sort of empirical means of ascertaining the real shape of a planet?
Well, we do chemtrails in class, so it's kind of in the same ballpark. One of the common themes I see in all these conspiracies is there are always complexities. I don't know too many people who know structural engineering enough to talk about 9/11 or epidemiology since 2020. So I think in all these things, what you have with like flat Earth is a way to simplify and take back an idea that experts control. And in the meantime, what you're doing is making enormous numbers of mistakes. But you have certainty, and you don't care about the complexity. You're just basically bypassing it. I love talking about chemtrails and flat Earth because my science majors lose their minds when they look at some of the basic mistakes. But that goes back to things you can look up and assert. Back to the education system and competing with the ability to oversimplify. That's kind of the tug of war you have going on with that.
So now let's talk about changing minds. We've had many different conversations with experts about how do you change minds. The low-hanging fruit is beating people over the head with facts is rarely effective. Showing empathy, listening a lot, as you point out, is effective. But still, we've not really found any significant shortcut. I mean, oftentimes you're talking about building a relationship with someone, not even over a period of hours, but often over days, weeks, months, or whatever the case may be. What is your sense of the most effective techniques to change minds?
I'm an educator, obviously, and I've been doing this for a long time. And one of the devices I had set up was having, a group of students assert a conspiracy and a group of students debunk the conspiracy. And we're training them in basic logic, facts, but also in civil discourse. So in combination, that's where I have some hope, because that's the thing you don't have really online. You have, threads where the insults break out in seconds, and that's not the way that should work. I mean, the face-to-face version of this is the better way because, outside the internet, that's the way people used to debate. You can look somebody in the eye. I think it's a very hard thing to do. I think one of the things that struck me about the recent past, shows with a sense of humor, who don't take themselves too seriously, are very effective. That's what Jon Stewart proved years ago. John Oliver does that still. I mean, you can say this stuff with a smile on your face and not the dark implications of disagreement. So part of its method, part of its structure. I'm going to keep working away at it as long as I'm teaching, which is going to be for more years than now. So we'll see.
When it comes to like assessing the, I'm going to use the word danger, but maybe it's not actually the right word. But when it comes to assessing the danger of widespread belief of a particular conspiracy theory, I think many of us can understand how, at least in a direct sense, there are some conspiracy theories, like, for example, the comet ping pong thing, that led to an actual shooting. Whereas for many of us, we say flat Earth, it's comparatively more benign. Some experts we've interviewed say that's true, and yet it's rare that someone believes only one of these things, and flat Earth links to something else, and it links to anti-Semitism and all these different things. So let's try to put together sort of a theory of this. We can understand the differences between the immediate impacts of some of these conspiracy theories, but how do we evaluate them on some kind of spectrum?
I think one of the things I noticed with QAnon was that it was early on dismissed as lone actors, on the fringe. And I think what obviously January 6th proved a lot of that wrong. The same systems where these beliefs can overlap and combine, with whatever, media platform you have, they're also the same places that these threats can organize themselves. And that's a huge concern, because you can't really shut down social media. It's like playing electronic whack-a-mole. You can ban somebody from a platform, they'll just move to another one. So I'm really concerned after January 6th when it comes to coordinating, acting. People will move on their convictions. And like you mentioned in the polling, these aren't small numbers of people. Even if you take the tiniest percentage, you still have a lot of people willing to act on what they're doing. And that really concerns me because there's, the treatment of this is almost like a crusade. So in my own classroom, or, I actually am an election worker. I'll be at the polls in 2 weeks. I'm constantly worried about somebody showing up, to try to make sure that the election's not stolen. I've been asked that question dozens of times in 2 years. So I do have concerns.
Let's talk a little bit about social media. In the book Technopoly, Neil Postman wrote that there's a sort of naivete in thinking that with any platform or technology, you can eliminate any of the bad uses of it and only be left with the sort of good. And I'm oversimplifying, but the idea that a platform, a technology comes with good and bad. And the question is finding a balance of sort of regulation and education that will maximize the good and minimize the bad. We can think about lots of great things about social media, and also it has made the spread of conspiracy theories and false beliefs rampant like wildfire. What should be a regulatory framework for some of these platforms?
Oh, that's a big question. So best example I have online is a website called Metabunk, which has moderated conversations. They do have standards, and it works. But how far that could be extended and spread, throughout the entire internet, that's the problem. And I think you pointed out, where these things might appear in places you would have never suspected. The natural parenting community in QAnon, no one saw that, although you could see the elements after the fact. So it's a very hard thing to talk about, because the more you crank down on free speech, the more that you're going to have the reaction. And I think it becomes self-defeating after a point. I'm back to trying to, the education part before they log on. That's where I'm looking at.
That's for me, the greatest immunizer to people falling for this stuff is you start teaching critical thinking and media literacy probably at age 11 or something like that.
Right. Well, and judging by this course has changed since I started, back in 2016. I had 25 students. Right now I have 145.
Wow.
So this thing it fills within a couple of days every time I run it, and I run multiple sections now. So it might be like a factory for reason and rational thinking, I hope.
Right. That's the dream. And the book is forthcoming in less than 2 weeks. It's Modern Conspiracies in America, separating fact from fiction. I've pre-ordered it on Amazon already. I encourage the audience to do the same. We've been speaking with the book's author, Professor Michael Gambone. Really appreciate your time today.
And this was a treat, I got to tell you. Thank you.
Some of you may be aware of the flat earth theory. And if it's not a theory, it's a fact. But I have my own interpretation on exactly what's going on here, and would like to add an addendum to the society. So basically, I have two models, 2.5 models. The first model is, Okay, the Earth is flat, right? And we're in a geothermal pocket. Now, what if past the Arctic Circle, there's what I have coined the glacial frontier. Now, beyond the glacial frontier is more pockets. So what we have here is a flat plane that doesn't end at the Arctic Circle. It only begins. So what we're looking at here is many more geothermal pockets, much like some of the extraterrestrials have been mentioned to be human. Well, they're advanced societies from a very far off geothermal pocket, and you would need their technology to traverse the huge expanse in seconds. And the universe isn't out there. The universe is right here. Thus, that's why the propaganda machine was meant where, there is no place off the Earth. There's no land bridge. There's no nothing. There's nowhere to go. You're stuck on this plane. So why would you perpetuate propaganda unless you had, there was a nefarious plan? Well, they want you to think, in my opinion, that this is the only game in town. This is the only place to go. There's no other carnival. This is the only one. It's the best show, greatest show on Earth, and don't go anywhere else. Don't look over the fence. Don't think outside the box. And, there are no utopias. This is just a miserable mud ball, and that's the way it is, and it's a free-range plantation, and that's the bottom line. What if beyond that the universe is not past the firmament, it is right here, and all we have to do is look over the fence, but they won't allow us. The Treaty of Nations is a very suspect thing. Now, the other model is, what if we're stacked? Some of the New Agers say that, there's 12 densities and so on and so forth. Well, okay. In another model that I've created, that what if they are indeed stacked? What if there are 12 hermetically sealed? The ring does go around. The Arctic Circle is the end of the frontier. We are stacked like in a test tube controlled environment. Allies. That's why they would perpetuate such propaganda, because they want to benefit off of it. Now some secret societies are doing this, so we only build their machine. Tried to think about it. Okay, we just build their technocracy, their robotic machine, and then it's a miserable mud ball. And then when they're done with us, they're gonna, once they reach the technology to traverse the universe, the local universe, as it were, they're gonna get rid of us. And they're already breaking that ground if they haven't already, and we've outlived our usefulness, hence why they've activated the GMO and all the poisons and stuff. So that is the most logical model, knowing what I know about all the secret societies and all the research I've done as far as nefarious plans go. That's the big game, and it's really very close to home, and it's really quite basically obvious once you open your mind to the fact that the Earth isn't round. And then once you get your head around that, a lot of the footage, the 3D footage, is very convincing, but then someone could argue that, Star Trek is very convincing. A lot of these alien movies, they're very convincing. Everything is very convincing, so why wouldn't they? And the government is well known for hiring Disney and other movie studios to propagate propaganda, to push an agenda. It's all just to keep the free-range slaves thinking very small and in circles and building their machine. And that's it. We're just chattel to them. So those are basically my two theories. I had to get them out there. I wanted to add a little.
Hello, and welcome to this episode of Sailing the Flat Earth with Maddie and Herbie. We have just recently watched the Netflix documentary about the flat Earth, called
Behind the Curve.
Yes.
It was very enlightening and very inspiring.
It, in fact, inspired us to create this video for all of you.
Yeah, being how we've sailed across an ocean, we thought, who better to tell you what's actually out there
than us?
Yes.
Yeah. We have a few interesting points to add to the flat Earth theories and arguments.
Yeah, so one is that the Earth is a disk, and it's not spinning, and the sun and the moon are simply revolving as lights above us. Now, it was really interesting, like, they have it very well programmed, because we actually crossed the ocean using celestial navigation, so we figured out our position based on those pre-programmed lights that
NASA has them going in a very predictable direction.
They perfectly match the nautical almanacs in the books.
Yeah, it's very impressive.
And the other thing, so since the Earth isn't moving, the argument is, if the Earth is moving, it'd be moving at 1,000 miles per hour if you're at the equator.
And we would feel that.
Yeah, you'd feel being, flung off. So it's not moving, it's stationary, and the lights are moving above us. And I must say, like, when it was totally calm, we were just sitting on the boat, and we barely felt like we were moving.
Yes.
I mean, we weren't moving. And then when we got wind and we're like going like 8 or 9 miles an hour, like we actually had to hold on to the boat because it was going out from under us. And it's
so
been...
if that is making us hold on to the boat, then imagine if the Earth itself was moving.
Yeah, obviously you'd feel that.
While we were out there in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, we could actually see the disk, the edges of the disk. Now, we couldn't see the different countries.
Yeah, like the countries, we didn't see them in the distance.
Probably because we weren't wearing our glasses.
Yeah, both of us are nearsighted, and while we were out there, we were wearing sunglasses, not prescription.
Yeah.
So we couldn't see the buildings, but it's probably just because we weren't wearing our glasses.
Yeah, and because, you know, eyesight can only go so far.
Yeah.
So that's probably why we couldn't see both continents at the same time.
Yeah, because on a completely flat Earth, like when you're out there in the middle, you should evenly see the U.S. behind us and Europe in front of us.
Yeah.
But we couldn't really, so it must have been something on our end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe the waves.
Maybe it was the waves. They were distorting the light and hiding them. That could do it.
We should do an experiment about that.
Now, one big thing, as for the whole curved Earth making a globe, at no point did we go down a curve.
It's true. We were never going downhill.
Yeah,
we were always
flat.
Always sea level. The boat was always
level,
you know.
Like maybe a wave would make us go up or down a little, but at no point did we go over a curve and start like going. It was always flat.
Just as we anticipated.
Yes, because, you know, based how the Earth is flat.
Yes.
Now, a huge thing. When you're, like, in a city or in a town and stuff, there's buildings and trees, so your vision of the horizon is kind of obscured. Like, you can't really see everything in every direction because there's stuff blocking it. But when you're out in the ocean...
There's nothing to block it.
There's nothing, and I can tell you it was a completely flat disk in all directions.
It was. And we could even see the dome. We could see
at night,
the stars were in this shape around us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really,
It really did honestly feel like the Truman Show. Like you were just sitting alone in the middle and stuff would happen in the sky above you, but you never moved. We were just hanging out. Yeah, it really looked fake, honestly. Like it seems like they put more effort into rendering what it looks like over land and don't really care about what it looks like out in the ocean because it kind of looked a bit fake. Like the sunsets were just too pretty. Sunrises were just fake looking. It just came up. It's like, right.
We're on to you.
Yeah, and the stars, the way they go, it was impressive, but it really did look like it was just a dome on us.
Now, being sailors, we have special access to the sailing community. And we have talked to many sailors who have sailed around the world and never found
a curve.
And they never found the end of the world. They never they sailed east the whole time and never reached the end.
Well, it's simple because being how it's a disc, all they did was make a circle.
They just made a circle around the disc. And the compasses are all controlled by the government.
Yep.
So the compasses are controlled so that it looks like you're going east, even though you're actually changing direction on a flat surface.
If you look at this map of the flat Earth, you can easily see that when people sail around the world, all they're doing is sailing in a circle. Now, it's really interesting because we sailed from down here at Florida to the Azores, and at no point did we change course. We were always sailing at the same magnetic heading.
That's right.
And that would make a straight line on this flat Earth map. Now, if we go to the charts that the government has given us, let's see if they'll even open now that we're talking about the government. Just turn off Wi-Fi so they can't hear us talking. Now, if you look at this map, you can see that it has many turns that we did, but we were always sailing in a straight line. But here it looks like a big arc that we made. But we were going straight, so this map doesn't really show it too well, but we didn't really follow this course, even though this says where we were. Now, this map looks like it's got some curves in it, even though we were going straight the whole time. And what's really, really interesting, so first off, this map is a flat map.
It's flat, and all of our paper charts are also flat.
Yep. So that's a thing. And then what's really, really interesting is this curve that we did. as we headed further north, we started moving faster going to the Azores. So it's almost like if the flat map or the flat Earth disk is real, because as we go further north, we were making more, we're crossing more lines of longitude a lot faster the higher latitude was. But if you go back to the flat Earth map, the disk, you can see that as we get further closer to the North Pole, the lines of longitude are a lot closer. So this definitely is a true representation of the Earth. Like, we proved it. We never went over a curve. As we got further north, we started going east faster, and it was all flat out there. It was a disk that we were sailing on.
Quite.
Of all Earth would be sometimes running uphill and sometimes down. This would also be the case for the Parana, Paraguay, and other long rivers. 6. If Earth were a ball 25,000 miles in circumference, as NASA and modern astronomy claim, spherical trigonometry dictates the surface of all standing water must curve downward an easily measurable 8 inches per mile, multiplied by the square of the distance. This means along a 6-mile channel of standing water, the Earth would dip 6 feet on either end from the central peak. Every time such experiments have been conducted, however, standing water has proven to be perfectly level. 7. Surveyors, engineers, and architects are never required to factor the supposed curvature of the Earth into their projects. Canals, railways, bridges, and tunnels, for example, are always cut and laid horizontally, often over hundreds of miles without any allowance for curvature. 8. The Suez Canal, connecting the Mediterranean with the Red Sea, is 100 miles long without any locks, making the water an uninterrupted continuation of the two seas. When constructed, the Earth's supposed curvature was not taken into account. It was dug along a horizontal datum line, 26 feet below sea level, passing through several lakes from one sea to the other, with the datum line and the water's surface running perfectly parallel over 100 miles. 9. Engineered double... The spherical shape of the planet, originally a small work, Robocan's work was retaken several times, becoming more and more extensive, and even eventually it was continually supplemented by the Society of Students. Until this day, Samuel Robocan, one of the earliest conducting numerous lectures around the world. The appearance of Robocan's theory later developed into universally accepted society. lower strata, also of a different thermal condition, but warmer than the interstratum. Such a state of the atmosphere is compatible with the fact which other evidence shows the Earth globe rotates on its axis at a terrific rate of 1,000 miles per hour. Such an immense mass would of necessity cause a tremendous rush of wind in space and water. The wind would go all one way, being like clouds which got within the sphere of influence of the rotating sphere This is not only larger than the ball Earth is said to be at the equator, but a whole 4,262 miles greater, and it would be at Sydney's southern latitude on a globe of said proportions. From the Cape Horn, Chile, to Port Phillip in Melbourne, Australia, the distance is 10,500 miles, or 143 degrees farther away. Factoring in the 8 degrees to 360 makes for a total distance of 46,430 miles from this particular latitude, which is over 1,500 miles wider than the Earth is supposed to be at the equator, and many more thousands of miles wider than it's supposed to be at such southern latitude. 41. Similar calculations made with the Cape of Good Hope, South Africa to Melbourne, Australia, at an average latitude of 39.5 degrees south, have given an approximate figure of over 25,000 miles, which is again equal to or greater than the Earth's supposed circumference at the equator. Calculations from Sydney, Australia to London, Cape, at an average of 37.5 degrees south, have given an approximate circumference of 45,500 miles. According to the ball Earth theory, the circumference of the Earth is 37.5 degrees southern latitude, which is 110,757 latitude, almost 6,000 miles less than southern latitude. 42. In the ball Earth model, Antarctica is an ice continent which covers the bottom of the ball for 17 degrees south latitude, 90, is therefore not more than 12,000 miles in circumference. Many early explorers, including Captain Cook and James Clark, however, in attempting Antarctic circumnavigation, took 3 to 4 years and about 50 to 60,000 miles an hour. The British ship Challenger also broke the record for complete circumnavigation of Antarctica, traversing 69,000 miles. This is entirely inconsistent with the law. 43.
So I want to know, if the Earth was flat, right? Wouldn't it be the sunlight all the time? Be daylight all the time? I mean, just look right here, right? Got a flat Earth map right here. If the sun was out, I mean, well, no, that's not a good example. That's not a good example. The sun would light up the whole flat Earth, okay? Next, you gotta explain to me seasons. How would the seasons work on a flat Earth? Cause we're on a ball, right? The ball's tilted 666 degrees, okay? It's a coinkydink that is tilted 666 degrees, guys. Coinkydink. You ever heard of a coinkydink? Okay? 666 tilt, okay? So that causes the seasons while the Earth goes around the sun. So the flat earthers need to explain that. And also, if the Earth is flat and the sun's just going away from me, how come the sun don't shrink into a tiny little dot, huh? Come on, tells me this, flat earthers. How come the sun don't shrink to a tiny little dot? So, also, boats, when they disappear behind the curve, the boats that go behind the curve, guys. Come on, everybody knows this. I learned this in 2nd grade. So, also, you guys gotta tell me why the government would lie to me. I mean, the government loves me, okay? Russia, South Korea, those are the enemies, okay? The Taliban and the ISIS, flip-flops and the AKs. So, tell me why my government would lie to me. I mean, I don't care, NASA get $52 million a day. That's not a reason to lie, okay? Nobody lies for money, okay? That's just stupid. Why you gonna tell a lie just to get $52 million a day, okay? Let's be real. See, all you guys got are the memes and the YouTubes. You got just a bunch of memers, a bunch of YouTubers. Y'all don't do your own research. You needs to go back to school, okay? So, and this whole gravity isn't real thing. Gravity is real. Drop something to the center of mass. Guys, come on. You drop something and it falls, okay? So, I don't know how that would happen on a flat Earth. Somebody please tell me how to happen on a flat Earth without gravity, because I don't see it happening, okay? And spin the bucket around, okay? That's how you know the shape of the Earth. You put water in a bucket, spin the bucket around, okay? And seriously, the sun flat and the moon flat, what's that? You're telling me that burning ball of fire in the sky doesn't have the exact same shape as the planetary Earth we have with humans and animals and plant life and oceans? Man, that ball of fire gotta be the same size as the Earth. It gotta be. That's the only way it goes down. Okay? We got a solar system. My soul has been lured by a solar system. Okay? So please tell me what the heck planets are. The flat Earth don't know what planets are. You can't look up and see the planets. Planets is obviously there. I don't get it. I don't get it, okay? You see the planets and they're round. They look round, okay? Anything that's round is a circle, is a ball. I meant to say ball. You got pizzas, them circles, them balls, frisbees, them circles, them balls too, okay? Anything circular is a ball. My quarter that I got in my pocket, circle, it's a ball. Okay? So, why does it even matter, guys? Like, flat Earth don't even matter. I mean, I goes to work, I get off, I get my 6-pack, I goes home, and I turn on the boob tube, watch some foosball. Okay? That's what matters. You go to work, pay taxes, get your kids in school, make sure they get good grades. This is very important, okay? So, doesn't matter. Flat Earth not important. Ain't nowhere in the Bible, nothing like that. So,
going back to Antarctica, though, so in all of the kind of flat Earth videos and podcasts I've listened to, they always talk about, you know, Antarctica is this guarded place where they don't let you go because they don't want you to see what's there. We could right now, if we wanted to, swipe a credit card. Yeah, there's cruises, there's planes, like something like 36,000 people a year go to Antarctica.
Yeah. If I was wealthy enough, I would go to the. Is there a head of flat Earth? Is there like a main guy?
So, this is okay. We're taking a little divergence here. There is something called the Flat Earth Society.
Right.
However, that is just a psychological operation to discredit true flat earthers because they're making themselves look
they
foolish.
Look ridiculous.
Yeah,
Okay, I see.
Which I actually. I almost kind of believe that one because some of the stuff they post on Twitter and stuff, it literally just looks like a troll trying to
right. I see. Okay, that does make sense from a sociological
there are
standpoint.
flat earthers all around the globe, like statements like that. So.
But okay, if whoever might be listening out there in the next however many years, if you are the self-proclaimed head of flat Earth or a prominent flat earther, and I have enough money later, hit me up. I'll pay for a private jet. Bring your crew, your video crew, whoever you want. And we'll go to Antarctica, and or wherever you want to go, you choose, and we'll film it. And if we go across Antarctica, come up the other side, you have to stop.
Well, so here's the problem with that, though. If you have one of these prominent flat earthers that ends up discounting what they said, they didn't actually go there. They're a government shill. They've been paid off. They've been mind controlled.
The semantic loopholes never end.
It's a rock solid sort of defense team. There's nothing that's going to get in there and permeate it enough to like blow it up where everyone goes, oh, that was a silly time.
What do we? The thing about like I get that too on YouTube. I get comments that are like, "You're a shill. You're a shill for pharma," and I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm sitting in my apartment on my computer making chemistry tutorials." What are you talking about?
Well, they say these the scientists and stuff like that, like basically everybody by their theory, everybody who's going to grad school for physics and things like that are just sitting there being they're in on it, they're getting indoctrinated, they're doing these weird eyes wide shut type ceremonies in the bottom of the physics
and
building.
Sex parties. We know how you guys are.
I mean, we're just dudes, like we're just regular people.
I know.
Like,
these are like 22-year-old kids that are just like, this is cool to me, and I'm gonna do that.
And if it were real, wouldn't you want to see like some evidence that, like, man, have you noticed like every physicist drives a Porsche?
I know, right? Where's all the money? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, scientists are definitely. I mean, they're not struggling as much as say teachers, but they're not swimming in it necessarily. Yeah,
they're at least not like Freemasons who control the world swimming in it by any means.
Yeah. The other thing that I find funny is that like in this scenario where the ice wall is guarded. I mean, first of all, think of the absurdity of like a guy every half a mile for,
Yeah.
how many thousands of, and then the other thing is that they have to do this thing where it can't be an individual government because it's a global conspiracy. So it's NASA.
Please.
They
a
think
flat
it's
plate computer.
exactly. What I mean, just like every nation is operating independently. So I don't know how there'd be a coordinated thing. So apparently it's NASA. The flat earthers believe that NASA is like NASA's like struggling for funding and like we can't do like NASA like can't do what it wants to do. That's why SpaceX is doing so well, because we've figured out like, oh, private corporations can be part of this, space frontier and things. It's like the thought of NASA being like, the Men in Black or like the evil secret society is just the funniest thing I've ever heard. I don't understand.
But that's a huge component of it. That's a huge part of it.
It doesn't work without.
The inscrutable secrets of the universe can hardly be fully revealed. And even what at first glance seems to be the immutable truth can in some cases be very controversial. The distortion of historical facts to suit political, economic and moral and ethical interests is no longer so surprising, as the concept of alternative history grows more and more popular with each passing day. This is going to be a rather large and fascinating video. Here I want to tell at once that I don't claim any truth in the last instance, and in general, all information for this video is taken from open sources. Therefore, I advise you to watch this video, and at the end I will make a conclusion that will satisfy everyone. So, you're on the Visioner channel, let's get started. What if it's not just history that's distorted? Modern geography, geodesy and other sciences have elevated the idea that the Earth is round to an axiom, but this theory also has its opponents. At first glance, the idea of a flat Earth can be perceived as a joke, but its adherents give more and more convincing evidence in favor of their theory, which look quite logical and reasonable. Is it so, or in this case science does not lie? Who knows? Flat Earth theory, basic concepts. The essence of this theory reveals its name. According to the assumptions of flat earthers, the globe is a round disk, the center of which is the North Pole. And the South Pole is not on this map in principle. Instead, there is a high ice wall encircling the Earth. What is behind the wall is a mystery. Some suggest that behind it there is just ice and permafrost, others believe that there is a parallel life of other inhabitants of the planet, and still others believe that the wall serves as a barrier, behind which there is absolutely nothing. The map, which visually reflects the structure of the flat Earth, is called azimuthal. The planet is 40,000 kilometers in diameter. Above this huge disk, like a dome, rise the constellations, the sun and the moon. And for the day to follow its course and the day to change the night, it is not the planet itself that rotates, but the dome directly above it. This is why the constellations move through the night. The bright sun is replaced by a mysterious and cold moon, and sunrise and sunset alternate regularly. And since the sun is constantly moving, the usual notions of the solar system have no right to exist either. The flat Earth concept does not consider the solar system in principle because the sun rotates at breakneck speed and the planets simply could not follow it and rotate about their own axis. The gravitational force of the planets also serves as a weighty argument. If you believe modern scientists, the Earth ranks third among the planets around the sun. But according to the laws of physics, the gravitational force is directly related to the mass, which means that the smaller the size of the planet, the closer it must be to the sun. Performing simple mathematical calculations, we can understand that the Earth should not be on the third, but on the sixth place. Then our world would be enveloped in permafrost because the atmosphere simply physically could not get warm enough to comfortably support life. But if everything is arranged exactly as seen by adherents of the flat Earth theory, what about flights into space, the many photographs of the Earth taken from outer space, data on other planets and other information that clearly demonstrates the structure of the universe? In the opinion of the Flatlanders, all this is nothing more than a fiction, a staging and a deception of enormous proportions. The illusion created by Freemasons allows to hide the truth from the population. One proof of this assumption is the Apollo 11 picture of the Americans allegedly flying to the moon. With detailed magnification one can see that the spacecraft is made of improvised materials, foil, planks, oilcloth, cardboard, etc. In fact, it is just a decoration designed for filming the astronauts, who, by the way, did not even bother to take off their jewelry, bracelets and rings, on which you can see the engraved letter G inside the compass and ankle, the symbol of the Masonic movement. And the pictures of Mars? The unreal and mysterious beauty of this mysterious planet, according to the adherents of the flat Earth theory, is nothing more than photo filters, the play of light and shadows, classic computer programs that any advanced schoolboy knows how to work with. If you remove the effects of Photoshop from these pictures, you get very beautiful, but still quite real landscapes taken in the remote corners of the Earth, untouched by the hand of man. A bit of history, or where does the theory of a flat Earth come from? At first glance it may seem that the theory of a flat shape of our planet is nothing more than a fashion trend, which now has a lot of scattered on the internet. However, this is not the case. Looking through the prism of history, we can trace how the opinion about the shape of the Earth has changed. Mention of this theory can be found in the earliest mythology of Egypt and Babylon, in Hindu and Buddhist writings, and in Scandinavian epics. And even the ancient philosophers whose teachings are considered a historical legacy, among them Leucippus and his disciple Democritus, were firmly convinced that the Earth is flat. The oldest manuscript of the Book of Enoch, found in Qumran, held the same idea. However, over time, these beliefs gave way to astronomical knowledge, and the idea of a flat Earth fell into oblivion. In the Middle Ages, the question of the shape of the Earth became debated again. One striking example of this idea was the Christian topography, written by Cosmas Indicopoulos in 535 to 547. In it, the planet is represented as a rectangular plane with a dome on top. Some people, hiding behind the name of Christians, claim, along with pagan philosophers, that heaven has a spherical shape. No doubt these people are misled by eclipses of the sun and moon. This work and translation was widespread in Russia because at that time it was a unique encyclopedia of medieval knowledge, and there was no reason not to believe it. One of the best examples of the theory was an engraving published in the book Atmosphere. Popular Meteorology, which came out from the pen of the French astronomer Camille Flammarion in 1888. It depicts a pilgrim reaching the edge of the Earth and peering out from under the dome toward new worlds. The caption to the image reads as follows. A medieval missionary tells us that he has found the point where the sky touches the Earth. How did the Flat Earth Society form? In the 19th century, adherents of the concept described came together in a group, the Flat Earth Society, led by the English scientist Samuel Robotham. For several decades, he conducted all sorts of experiments, studies in support of his theory, and, importantly, found a lot of evidence. Using the pseudonym Parallax, he wrote Zetetic Astronomy, in which he thoroughly and easily laid out all his findings and results, disproving the spherical shape of the planet. Originally a small work, Robotham's work was reprinted several times, becoming more and more extensive and evidential as it was continually supplemented by the Society's students. Until his death, Samuel Robotham defended his theory, conducting numerous lectures and seminars around the world. The adherents of Robotham's theory later united into the Universal Zetetic Society, which found its adherents in all corners of the planet. Since 1956, this organization, led by Samuel Shenton, has once again been called the Flat Earth Society, but with the meaningful prefix international. When Shenton saw photos of the globe from orbit, he never doubted his convictions for a moment. It's easy to see how pictures of this sort can fool an uninformed person. Since 1971, Charles Johnson had been the head of the organization. He launched a major campaign to promote his ideas, distributing leaflets, producing pamphlets in which he defended the flat Earth model. Thanks to this activity, the number of supporters of the theory increased several times during his presidency. Arguments for the flat Earth theory. In order to make an informed decision about the shape of our planet, we should consider the arguments of both sides, figuring out which ones are the most reasonable and consistent. So, what do flat earthers say about their theory? The speed of rotation of the Earth. Scientific data states that the Earth rotates around its axis at a speed of the order of half a kilometer per second. It's hard to even imagine such a fast object. A few simple experiments, such as jumping, speak in favor of flat earthers. Everyone knows that by jumping up, a person lands in the same place. But what about rotation? After all, in the fraction of a second that he was in the jump, the planet would have moved a considerable distance, and the landing point would have been a different point. This is the same result of firing a cannon into the sky. In addition, if shot to the east, against a direction of rotation, the core should fly half as far as normal, and if shot to the west, twice as far. Nevertheless, this does not happen. And the pilots flying over the Earth have never recorded how it rotates, although who else but them should be able to see the change in the position of the planet from above. 2. The horizon is perfectly flat. Look into the distance. Look closely, without losing sight of the slightest detail. What do you see? A perfectly straight edge of the horizon in the area where it is clearly visible, fields, meadows, sea surface, cannot deceive. After all, in free terrain, the eye covers several kilometers in the distance, so why are they perfectly flat? According to adherents of the theory, the answer is obvious: the Earth is flat. In addition, high objects, e.g., towers, lighthouses, mountaintops, would simply not be visible because the spherical surface would close them from the attentive eye, as the horizon line would be significantly higher. But this does not happen, and it is possible to admire the mountains from a very long distance, counting more than 1 kilometer. 3. Air travel routes. Many flights, especially long-distance ones, at first glance seem illogical from the point of view of the spherical shape of the Earth. Looking at the globe, one might wonder why pilots choose such seemingly illogical routes and inconvenient refueling points. However, there is no mystery or irrationalism in this. If you compare these routes with a flat map, it becomes clear that the route is perfectly laid out. 4. Star pattern. If all objects in the universe are in constant motion, then why are the stars in the sky arranged exactly the same way both today and several centuries ago? After all, in theory, the star pattern should change if not every day, then certainly once a week. However, this does not happen. The thing is that the stars are just holograms on the heavenly dome, which cannot change, move relative to each other, and even less fall. And the famous meteor shower, which eagerly awaits all the romantics of the world to make a wish, is a holographic effect. 5. The yellow color of the sun. Scientific laws are quite lengthy to explain why the sky is blue and the sun is yellow. According to official data, ultraviolet light passing through the atmosphere scatters into spectra, one of which colors the sky. However, this does not explain why some of the rays concentrated around the sun do not scatter, because then it should be blue-blue. Isn't it because the sun is below the dome sky, which limits space? As it revolves around the Earth, it alternately illuminates the area, so the light hours alternate regularly. 6. Spaceflight is a hoax. None of the flat earthers have seen outer space with their own eyes, which means that one can dispute its existence to the point of hoarseness. Photographs are fake, videos are nothing but special effects, and flights into space are fantastic stories. Convinced adherents of this theory even several times organized an expedition exploration to find places of photography on the moon. And when astronauts were asked to swear on the scriptures that they had been to the moon, they all showed aggression and evaded the answer. 7. The free flow of rivers. According to the law of communicating vessels, the network of bodies of water enveloping the Earth simply could not exist on the spherical planet as we see it today. However, rivers flow west, east, north, and south in almost equal numbers, and their depth and fullness have nothing to do with geographic location. Such characteristics are only possible if the Earth is flat. 8. The view of the technicians. One of the weighty arguments in favor of their theory flat earthers use the universal conspiracy of engineers, technicians and other personalities, in one way or another, associated with working in vast spaces. For example, surveyors do not consider the curvature of the Earth when designing buildings and structures. But in such a case, a structure made according to this design simply would not be able to withstand the total load and would collapse. But this does not happen, and the buildings sit idle for decades. There is only one conclusion to be drawn. They know that the Earth is actually flat, but they keep this secret from the population. The same applies to airplane pilots who, when taking off from a spherical surface, no longer adjust their flight path until they land. How? Because under such conditions, the plane would fly into outer space. And if you look at it from the perspective of a flat Earth, everything falls into place. This evidence is the most common evidence that the Flat Earth Society uses to disprove an accepted theory. To judge their validity, we must also consider the beliefs of the so-called globetrotters who hold the scientific viewpoint. Why is the Earth a ball? Arguments disproving a flat Earth. The concept espoused by the scientific community provides many justifications in its favor, some of which look quite convincing. So what do the chairovers argue in favor of their theory? The moon and its eclipse. Even leaving aside the photographs proving the existence of the moon as a satellite of our planet, the shadow that the Earth casts as it gradually reaches the lunar eclipse directly attests to its sphericality. Even Aristotle, who advocated the spherical nature of the planet, viewed the shadow cast as an oval, which directly contradicted the theory that the Earth was flat. 2. The change of constellations. This argument was also considered as far back as Aristotle's time. Traveling around the world, he recorded the position of the stars in the sky and the visibility of each of them. Thus, when he was at the equator, he discovered constellations that were not visible at other latitudes. And the further from the equator the scientist was, the less familiar stars he saw, which were replaced by others. This effect could only be explained by the fact that a man was looking at the sky from a spherical surface, otherwise the location would not affect the visibility of the stars so much. 3. Time zones. Although half-Earthmen claim that the change of the time of day is due to the rotation of the sun, chairovers are convinced that it is the Earth that rotates around its axis. This is why different countries have different times, and when, for example, it is deep night in America, in China the sun shines and the day is in full swing. 4. The force of gravity. Another proof of a spherical planet is gravity, the force of attraction between objects. According to the laws of physics, it acts relative to the center of mass. But when an apple falls, it lands from top to bottom, not at an angle to the center, and a person walking on the surface of the Earth feels the attraction to the bottom, not sideways, closer to the center of the disk. This is why it can be judged that the center of the Earth, from which the maximum gravity comes, is under it every time, which means that the Earth has a spherical shape. However, flat earthers reject this proof because they believe that gravity is just the result of the planet's upward motion with acceleration. 5. Visibility of objects from a height. If one climbs a mountain, a tall tree, or a lighthouse, looking at the outline of the horizon through binoculars, one may notice that the distance of visibility increases in direct proportion to the height at which one is standing. Of course, visible obstacles can interfere with the clarity of the experiment, but in a field or meadow this effect is most noticeable. But if the Earth were flat, the height of the observation platform would have no effect on the visibility of objects on the horizon. This is only possible if the planet is shaped like a sphere. 6. A ship on the horizon. Sailing, the ship on a perfectly smooth sea surface does not disappear at once. First of all, its hull is lost from sight, and only after this the sails disappear behind the horizon. It is the same when the ship approaches the shore. You can see the sails at once and only then the ship itself. This directly proves that despite the apparent straightness of the horizon, it is curved by the spherical shape of the Earth. 7. The sundial. The effect of the sundial is calculated based on the shadow that the sun gives at different times. By sticking a stick in the ground, you can observe how the shadow from it gradually changes its shape. And if the world were a plane, the position of the stick would not affect the shape of the shadow, and it would be identical at different points. However, even a seemingly insignificant distance of several tens of kilometers between the two experimental ones gives different results, and the shadows differ from each other by at least a few tenths of a millimeter. This principle was used even before our era in calculating the circumference of the Earth, which was carried out by Eratosthenes. 8. Documentary facts. Although flat earthers claim that photos from satellites and space missions are hoaxes, chairovers are firmly convinced of their existence. Numerous pictures of our planet, obtained from outer space, flights to the moon and the study of other planets, the scientific heritage that mankind has achieved over hundreds of years of experiments and developments. True, a lot of money is invested in these studies, and their effectiveness is only confirmed by images, but this is the other side of the coin. The flat Earth in the context of contemporary art, no matter how controversial the theory that denies the generally recognized shape of our planet, it has repeatedly surfaced in the works of science fiction writers, filmmakers and writers. It is enough to recall Clive Lewis's widely acclaimed Chronicles of Narnia to realize that this idea appeals to a white audience. The cosmology of Narnia presents the idea of a plain Earth, beyond whose borders lies paradise, Aslan. That's where the heroes go, following the routes of an ancient map that resembles a medieval map. English science fiction writer Terry Pratchett devoted an entire series of works with the predictable title Flat World to the concept. In his opinion, based on ancient Indian myths, the disc-shaped planet is supported by 4 elephants, and they, in their turn, stand on a centuries-old turtle. And the Pirates of the Caribbean, beloved by millions of viewers? Captain Jack Sparrow's team managed to reach the end of the planet, where a bottomless waterfall was raging. Russian writers have not shied away from this concept. For example, the story Monk at the End of the Earth by Sergei Sinyukhin describes an expedition to the Celestial Dome, after which its participants were subjected to state repression. However, the results of the expedition were indisputable. The flight into space is nothing more than a fiction based on the distortion of the picture of the universe. Some people are more comfortable to believe that the Earth is a sphere, while others are firmly convinced that our planet is flat. One way or another, it is impossible for most people to ascend into space to be visually convinced of the correctness of one of these movements, so we have to use what we have, our eyes, logic and common sense.
So, I've came across Flat Earth about, I don't know, a couple months ago, and I was never big on really life. I'm 29 last month, woohoo, almost 30, finding that being flat brought me back to God, really. And I grew up never going to church, reading a Bible, really anything on TV never really got to me. Because it was programmed that way. It was to be, you live on a globe in the middle of nowhere, you're in an accident, doesn't matter. Good, bad, anything you do, you're just a speck in the middle of nowhere. Even if you are a good person, it didn't matter. So, pretty much finding out that we are not on a globe, a ball of water spinning 1,000 miles per hour, circling the sun, circling a galaxy, circling fucking everything. So it's kind of a nice change knowing I'm not just nothing, and a little liberating, even though a lot of people feel the opposite, because they want you to feel like what you do doesn't matter, so you should feel good about that, no one's watching you. But even if no one was watching me, I was always trying to be a good person. And pretty much growing up with no path to follow. I had to find my own. And I guess it's a good thing, because it is, God wants to be found, not just handed to you, say, here, this is what you should believe, you should know and feel that what you found was good, not just he's worked for, really. So when you work for something, you appreciate it. And knowing that I found it on my own, no help, no guidance, it kind of just happened, which is more of faith and destiny, really. So I call this my flat earth confession, because I've tried to talk to people a little bit, but you see that indoctrination heavily, even when I just say, how do you know it's round? They come out with, you see the curve. Don't you know Coriolis effect? And I'm like, have you really seen the curve? And Coriolis effect only works if there's gravity, right? So, no gravity, no magical force that holds water to a spinning ball, which, really think about it, doesn't make sense. But anyways, for a while I was like, oh, that's cool, we're in the middle of nowhere, we spin, flying through galaxies with a whole bunch of other people. Not so cool when you think about you could actually be special and made on purpose. Because even my life, I was an accident, being born. Not too bad. My parents love me and take care of me, and I have a child of my own. He's 7. And I can see him being indoctrinated now, and I don't know what to do. I haven't really told anyone in my immediate family about this. My mother just started going back to church with her new husband, which is wonderful because we never really were around it. So, and my boyfriend, the father of my child, told me you need to research God, and he recently refound him and told me to look into it, and I'd never really wanted to. But when I came across the flat earth is what brought me back to God more than just someone telling me to look into it. I got it from my mom, she's going back, and then my boyfriend's telling me to look at it, and then I'm at work and I listen to radio shows and videos and stuff. I'm an accountant all day, so I try to entertain my mind while I do busy work 40 hours a week, and so I try to entertain myself and, you know, keep it going, learning daily. So basically just learning all the stuff I've been seeing recently. Like, there's no curvature. Even if it was a ball, you wouldn't see it, because if there was a curve and you turn left or right, it's not going to keep going down. So, I mean, even if you're on a ball, it has to be flat all the way around. So when people yell that out at me, I'm just like, your perspective's wrong, or you're just so indoctrinated that you just think you see it and you don't. And I'm big on math. I mean, I'm an accountant, so I did the research where they told me the equation and all that stuff. So makes sense. Stuff would lean away, which it don't. Obviously, buildings are all standing vertical, extremely vertical. They don't lean, which would be dangerous. So that couldn't be right. And then NASA never really believed that we went to the moon, just because all of it was so out there. And even my dad, he told me a long time ago, they're like, we never landed on the moon. There's no way. All those photos are fake. And then, you know, you see the videos, you watch it, and you really think about it. There's not a solid picture of Earth without being a painting or a drawing or cartoons, really. CGI is just a cool name for, woohoo, cartoons. So I figured that one out. I am a painter, so I mean, after I started looking at it, perspective really hinders people's ability. They could tell you what you see, or they can tell you what you should see, and you'll see it, even if it's not there. So I'm trying to figure out a way to tell my family to basically look for themselves, not just believe me, but I wish it would be that easy, you know, because they just believe school. But somehow it's harder to believe me than a teacher who stands in front of you and says the Earth is round and we go really, really fast. Only on the equator and not at the poles. Wouldn't you, I don't know, weigh more or something? Get pulled? When you really think about it, the continents, wouldn't they be like in the middle of the globe? Because when you spin, it would be like pushed to the middle? I don't know. Anyways. So, just coming to reality, really. Not knowing if it's flat or a plane that goes on forever or a simulation, or if it's really all in each person's head and none of it's real for anyone and everything's different. I just know it's not spinning.
So, today we are answering the age-old question whether the Earth is actually flat or if it's not. During this time in isolation, I have been thinking to myself, why do so many people believe that the Earth is flat? So I have decided to investigate this myself by making this my mission to travel all the way to Land's End in Cornwall to find out the Earth's true form. So after hours and hours of travelling, we finally made it to the destination. As you can see, I'm actually talking on screen, but basically it was too windy to hear anything, so I'll be narrating the rest of the video for you lot. I now present to you Exhibit A. In the distance you can see the horizon of the Earth, and to be fair, it does look fairly flat. I do not think this is enough evidence, however, to support this claim, so we will now move on to Exhibit B.
Rally. So we're here in Santa Monica. Matt's going to do his rally. I'm just here as, you know, a proud friend, just observing, not participating, but I'm wishing him luck.
All right, so we got our sign. And we got double side so the people don't get bored. Throw on this bad boy. I think it kind of fits the aesthetic. Here we are, and I guess let's get it. Flat Earth gang, don't fall off the edge, be careful. What?
For a YouTube video?
No, I just couldn't live on my conscience if someone fell off the edge on my watch.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Don't believe the lies, the Earth has 4 sides.
With you, brother.
Flat Earth gang, my man.
Flat Earth.
If you believe the Earth is round, join the circus, you're a clown. Yeah, if Christopher Columbus kept going the wrong way, he would have fallen right off. Luckily he hit America, but otherwise. What? It's a meme? No, dead serious. I'll find my people around eventually. Flat Earth gang, Flat Earth gang, Flat Earth gang. Y'all know what's up. It's flat, baby. Don't deny it. Flat Earth gang. You know the Hoover Dam, right? Something similar like that around the Earth. Luckily. Otherwise we'd all, you know, be really thirsty. We're talking area, not volume here.
Did you hear about Paris Hilton?
And who's this guy?
Kyrie Irving?
Did he fall off or something?
No, he's an NBA player and he's, you know, he's part of the gang. Brother, your shirt is round. It's flat though. You got to be careful. You're spreading misinformation. It's flat. I know someone who fell off. I'll see you guys out here next Saturday. Y'all have signs too?
No one is 100% certain about what the flat Earth looks like, but the azimuthal equidistant projection map that is used by the USGS is the flat Earth map. The United Nations, oddly enough, uses the flat Earth map as its logo and divides it into 33 Masonic sections. The Gleason's map is also used as a representation of the flat Earth. On the flat Earth map, north is in the center, while south, or Antarctica, is surrounding Earth with the continents and oceans inside. Mercator's map from 1569 is also a flat Earth map showing a magnetic mountain in the north with 4 continents surrounding it. The ancients had their own depictions of a flat Earth. Who's to say there is an edge? Most people's first reaction to flat Earth is that there must be an edge, but is that because of how it is presented to us? On the current flat Earth model, there is no edge, but rather a 360-degree wall of ice surrounding Earth holding the oceans in. Again, no one is 100% certain that this ice wall exists, because for more than 50 years, there has existed an international Antarctic treaty stating that no civilian can travel there without government approval. There are pre-approved guide tours that exist, but they only go to coastal regions. Jarl Andhoy was arrested and fined when he traveled to Antarctica without permission. We do have many pictures of the ice wall, but due to the treaty, we are restricted from going down there. On the flat Earth model, the sun circles over the Earth in a clockwise manner and fades off into the vanishing point of perspective, or the horizon. The sun does not actually sink to the ground, but rather it gets further and further away until the observer can no longer see it. The sun is not 93 million miles away, as modern astronomers claim, but it is obviously closer and smaller. The sun only gives light to about half of the plane, while the other half is night. Although there has been much debate about this in the community, I think we can all agree that it is the sun circling above us, not the other way around. Ships do not disappear over the horizon, but rather they disappear into the horizon, with the vanishing point of perspective. The argument of ships going over the curve can be easily debunked by using telescopes, binoculars, and good zoom cameras to bring ships back into view of the observer. No matter how good the zoom is on the camera, ships will never be able to be brought back into view if they went over the curve. This is proof that the ship only appeared to disappear because of vision and perspective, not the curve. Just because the Earth is flat, that does not mean that your eyesight is infinite. The human eye can only see a certain amount of distance on a clear day, and even less on a cloudy day. It would be impossible to see across an entire ocean because the human eye cannot see that far. It has everything to do with perspective and nothing to do with the curvature of the Earth. On the flat Earth model, circumnavigation simply means traveling east to west. If you go east for long enough, you will end up back where you started, and the same goes for west. Ferdinand Magellan's journey, which was credited as the first circumnavigation of Earth, just circled from east to west around the flat Earth. This doesn't prove that the Earth is flat or spherical, because it can work for both models. On the Red Bull dive from 128,000 feet, you can notice that the outside cameras are wide-angle lenses, while the inside cameras are not. In other words, the outside cameras have added curvature, but the inside cameras show a flat plane through the window. Not only that, but he lifted off from New Mexico, where already the curvature from the cameras started early on, and all we see in the view is New Mexico. Either the whole Earth is New Mexico, or it is a wide-angle lens. Notice how the Earth isn't spinning either. This question is not possible to be answered because no human being knows what is underneath the Earth. The farthest any human being has ever dug is 8 miles, so not even heliocentrists know what's inside the Earth. When people think of a flat Earth, they think of a disk in outer space, but the whole concept of outer space is ludicrous with the ball Earth theory. Many ancient cultures across the plane support the notion of Earth being held upon pillars, but the fact of the matter is, no one can ever know for sure what is beneath the Earth. No, On the flat Earth model, the Earth is stationary and is motionless. Earth is sitting still beneath our feet, and it is actually the celestial bodies, such as the sun, moon, and stars, that revolve around us. No one has ever, can ever, and will never experience motion from the Earth, which is astonishing because mainstream science says that the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour while hurtling 67,000 miles per hour around the sun, with the solar system shooting 500,000 miles per hour through the Milky Way, while traveling 670 million miles an hour through space. Yet we can feel none of this? It might sound crazy at first, but satellites do not exist. NASA claims to have satellites, space stations, and telescopes out in outer space, sending back fake CGI images and videos for everyone to eat up. The truth is, however, these are all hoaxes, and that explains all of the terrible CGI editing we receive. Just think about it. If there are really over 10,000 satellites orbiting Earth as we speak right now, then why can't we see any pass in front of the moon? Not even small specks. The concept of satellites was originally created by a Freemason science fiction writer named Arthur C. Clarke in a magazine titled Wireless World in 1945. There are thousands of miles of fiber optic cables in the oceans that supply up to 90% of communication, internet, and phones on Earth. GPS runs off ground-based cell towers. Satellite TV dishes, which existed before satellites, are almost always aimed at a 45-degree angle directly towards the nearest cell tower. NASA has been caught using camera trickery with the ISS space footage and using multiple green screen effects with astronauts in harnesses to fake the appearance of zero gravity. Bubbles have been caught floating near astronauts, and NASA even admits that they do training in underwater facilities. The moon only appears to be upside down because the observer is viewing it from a different angle in the southern part of Earth than the observer in the northern part of Earth. They're simply just seeing it from an opposite angle. Ancients portrayed the moon as rotating across the sky, almost like a wheel, and there are some pictures people have taken of this happening. The pictures we see from NASA of Earth from space are badly photoshopped. It is so obvious that even they admit to photoshopping the cartoons, such as data visualizer and designer Robert Simon, who once said, "It is photoshopped, but it has to be." This only proves that these blue marble images are not real, but fake cartoons that NASA has given the public. After analyzing many of the images, you can see that there are duplicated cloud patterns, and in one of the recent releases, they spelled the word sex into one of the clouds. The oceans aren't even the same color. Neil deGrasse Tyson said that the Earth is an oblate spheroid, or pear-shaped as he likes to call it, but this contradicts the images NASA has of a perfect spherical Earth. There are no pictures of Earth from space, but fake photoshops that we've believed are real. The light of the moon is totally different than that of the sun. The effects it has on plants and food is different, and even the temperature is different. In the sunlight, the shade is always cooler than the sunlight itself. However, in the moonlight, it is cooler, while in the shade it is warmer. The moonlight couldn't be reflecting the sun's light, because then it would have the same effects in temperature, but it appears the moon is emitting its own light, and is translucent. The phases are a function of the moon, and it is not a spherical ball of rock reflecting sunlight as we are told, but rather is a transparent, self-luminous disk. If the moon were a sphere, then we should be able to see the other side along with different faces, yet we see only one side. Not only that, but many people have taken images of the moon with stars being seen through it, and in the afternoon, you can see the blue sky right through the moon. Just look at these Muslim and Freemasonic depictions of the moon with the stars shining through it. Yes and no. It is obvious that there are lights in the sky revolving above our heads called stars, but the mainstream version of what we believe about outer space is simply not true. The only reason we believe things about outer space is thanks to Hollywood, school science books, and government space agencies. No one knows for sure what those lights in the sky are, but all we do know is that they appear to be moving around us and that we are in the center. The sun and moon appear to be the same size because they are the same size. Mainstream science wants you to believe that the reason the sun and moon look like the same size is because the sun is 400 times bigger than the moon and 400 times farther away. They say that this is just a coincidence, but that is their way of trying to explain why they appear to be similar sizes. It is fairly obvious that the sun and moon are both circling overhead and are both equally balanced opposites and are the same size. Many skeptics like to use eclipses as proof of a globular Earth because of the round shadow that is cast upon the lunar surface. They claim that the sun, earth, and moon align in a perfect 180-degree syzygy, with the sun casting Earth's shadow on the moon. The only problem with this unproven theory is that over 50 times in the past 2,000 years, there have been lunar eclipses where the sun is still in the sky as the shadow is being cast upon the moon. This makes their theory impossible, because the sun would be behind the ball Earth in a straight line with the Earth and moon, making it the only way for the Earth's round shadow to be cast on the moon. However, in many eclipses, you can see the sun in the sky at the same time as the moon, so the angle of the 180-degree syzygy is not the case, and the round shadow on the moon couldn't possibly be from the Earth. The ancients had their own explanation for this, known as Rahu, or the Black Sun, which is a third celestial body we are not told about that eclipses the sun and moon and is the same size. Ancient cultures described Rahu as a dark body, and that it is what caused eclipses, not the Earth's shadow. Whether it is actually Rahu causing eclipses, I feel we need more evidence, but this was the explanation the ancients had for eclipses. One ball Earth proof is that sinks, drains, and toilets all spin one direction in the northern hemisphere, while in the southern hemisphere, they spin the opposite direction. This is known as the Coriolis effect. However, in the same house, people can observe water draining in different directions. If water spinning in a direction was the primary result of Earth's motion, then water should never be seen spinning in different directions in the same hemisphere, yet this is exactly what occurs. The water will drain based on the shape of the basin or the direction the water is flowing in, but not because of the Earth's shape. This trick is easily done by pouring the water in and draining it in the same direction. This is just another excuse to keep the globe Earth model going and proves nothing. When comparing the amateur pictures and videos of what we know as planets, it is obvious that NASA's pictures of planets are CGI fakes. We don't even know what planets are, better yet what shape they are, other than that they are lights in the sky. Ancient cultures had their own description of what we would call planets. They knew planets as wandering stars, because they were lights in the sky, just like stars that wandered in their own unique paths different from the other stars. The word planet itself is just the word plane with a T added to the end of it. Planets, or wandering stars, are not what we have been told they are, and using lights in the sky to prove the shape of the Earth beneath your feet is not a valid argument to be made. Gravity was originally thought of by Freemason Sir Isaac Newton, who claimed that instead of objects falling due to density, rather they fell due to a mystical pulling force in which a smaller object can be pulled or attracted to a bigger object. Of course, gravity can be observed nowhere in nature, and scientists claim to have recently discovered gravitational waves, yet they still can't even prove it with experiments. Gravity also seems to be fickle and selective, and not only is it a force that pulls objects to the center of the spinning ball Earth, but it is also a force that allows heavenly bodies such as planets to orbit around bigger bodies. How is it that a force can be strong enough to hold oceans, buildings, and people stuck to the Earth, yet just weak enough to allow bugs, birds, and planes to fly freely in every direction? How is it that gravity can keep the oceans from flying off into space, but weak enough not to sink a sailboat? We are also told that gravity is what allows moons to orbit planets and planets to orbit around stars. Either gravity should cause people to stick to the Earth, or it should cause people to orbit the Earth. It should either allow the moons and planets to crash into the sun, or it should cause planets and moons to orbit the sun. Both functions are clearly different. The natural world around us was explained by the laws of density and buoyancy, in which objects fell due to being denser than the air surrounding it, or being less dense than the air surrounding it, so it rises like a helium balloon. Density and buoyancy are the only reasons why objects fall or rise, and gravity can be found nowhere in the natural world and is a hoax. The sun circles over the Earth from tropic to tropic, so when the sun is circling at the Tropic of Cancer closest to the North Pole, or the center of the flat Earth, it is summer in the north and winter in the south. When the sun is circling nearest the southern Tropic of Capricorn, it is summer in the south and winter in the north. Since the sun is smaller and closer than we have been told, it is more logical to think that this is the reason why we have seasons. If the sun was 93 million miles away, we should very rarely experience temperature differences, better yet, not 4 distinct seasons. The sun is not 93 million miles away like what we have been told, but rather it is close and circling above us. The sun cannot be observed from every angle at all times on the Earth as it passes by, so time zones are caused by its motion above us. Every 15-degree demarcation point around the circle is 1 hour, giving us different 1-hour time zones 24 times a day. NASA claims to have landed 6 of their Apollo moon missions on the moon. When looked at with the skeptical eye, however, it is clearly obvious that these moon missions were faked along with the rest of NASA's achievements. NASA has lost all the original Apollo moon landing footage and telemetry data, and no one is able to verify if any of it was even authentic. Many of the pictures have Earth copied and pasted into the backgrounds, and the shadows are pointing in different directions, proving that there was more than one light source. The sun should be the only light source on the moon, so all the shadows should be in the same direction, yet they are not. When looking at pictures of Mars, the hills of the Martian landscape look oddly similar and almost exactly like hills in Arizona, Australia, Egypt, or even Ireland. If you remove the red tint in the images that's been added from Photoshop, you'll notice that Mars looks exactly like Earth. Some of the Mars rover pictures are just computer-generated animations, while the videos are all filmed here on Earth. The only time we ever see curvature is from NASA's fake CGI images or fisheye lenses on GoPro cameras. Many who claim to have seen the curve from an airplane window have to consider the curved glass and the fact that the horizon rises to the eye level of the observer. On a ball, the horizon would drop from eye level as the plane rises, but that doesn't happen at all. Instead, the horizon always rises to eye level, which is impossible on a globe and is only consistent with a flat plane. People sometimes see a slight curve from the window and forget that they are looking out at a flat horizon. In the mid-1800s, a man named Leon Foucault began swinging pendulums with pins placed down and a ball and socket joint so it would swing in a circle. He claimed that instead of the pendulum moving, it was actually the Earth moving beneath it. However, this can easily be debunked because there is no way to start a pendulum in motion without giving it slight lateral bias. Some pendulums would swing too slow, some would swing too fast, some would swing in the opposite direction, and some wouldn't even swing at all. Although Foucault's pendulum doesn't prove anything, they are still being used across the world as proof of Earth's motion. On the flat Earth, north would be at the center of the Earth, and south would be anywhere extending away from north. A compass will always point north, no matter where you are on Earth. The North Pole would be just how the ancient cultures knew it, magnetic north. The ancients called it magnetic north because they believed that towards the center of the flat plane, it acted like a magnet. This is why no matter where on our flat Earth, when you hold a compass, it will always point to north, which appears to act like a magnet, drawing you to that direction. If anything, north and south seems to make more sense on the flat Earth than the ball Earth. We are told that craters are holes in the Earth caused by the impact of a meteor that has crashed onto Earth. Although this is what we are told, it is far more likely that these craters or holes are caused by gas bubbles from below the surface, or even a sinkhole. If craters were actually caused by a burning ball of rock from space, leaving that big of a depression, then the rock itself should still be there inside the crater. Not only that, but there should be pieces of the meteor scattered around from the impact. Yet at all of these supposed meteor impact crater sites, there could be no trace whatsoever of any rock from space left in the hole. Meteors are just like moon rocks. NASA presents us rocks that they tell us are from outer space, and we believe that these are space rocks, only to find out later that we were lied to and that they are actually from Earth. Comets are shooting stars, which are not terra firma rocks, but rather lights that shoot across the sky. Many meteors, such as the one in Russia that broke school windows, don't appear to be normal rocks falling from the sky. It seems more possible that these meteors are just military objects that are being shot from airplanes at an angle to have us keep believing in meteors. These meteors appear to always be shot at an angle downward. If they really were rocks from space, then they should be hurtling down at all sorts of different angles and not the same one every time. No one is entirely certain if there is a dome or firmament above us. What we do know is that many ancient cultures portrayed a dome above a flat geocentric Earth, and even the Bible speaks of a vaulted dome or firmament. There were military operations conducted in the mid-1950s, such as Operation Fishbowl, where the military shot rockets up in the sky and they exploded as if hitting a dome. Although this is compelling, it is foolish to accept the existence of a dome based off belief without evidence. So for now, the idea and existence of a dome remains unknown. No, Flat Earth is for every human. Even though there are many religious people in the Flat Earth movement, Flat Earth itself is just the shape of the Earth and has nothing to do with religion. Based on the evidence surrounding it, any human can become a Flat Earther and awaken to one of humanity's greatest lies. The Bible does give what appears to be a flat-like motionless Earth, but it does not bluntly state that the Earth is flat. Not only does the Bible mention a dome, but it also speaks of the Earth being on pillars, the sun and moon both being luminous bodies, and speaks of Eden as a paradise with 4 rivers flowing out of it, just like the Mercator projection with 4 rivers flowing from the north. The Bible was written before the heliocentric model was ever thought of, so why wouldn't it show a flat stationary Earth? The Flat Earth Society is controlled opposition. The concept behind controlled opposition is, as Vladimir Lenin once said, the best way to control the opposition is to lead it ourselves, meaning that the state, government, or secret societies control the leaders of the opposition against them, such as the Flat Earth Society. In other words, the Flat Earth Society says ridiculous things that will most likely steer people away and turn people off from the Flat Earth topic and dismiss it as ridiculous. For example, the Flat Earth Society says that gravity is not density and buoyancy like we clearly see, but instead, the Earth is rising upward at 1g to account for gravity and why objects fall. Every person who hears this immediately thinks it is ridiculous and is turned off, which is exactly what the Flat Earth Society was designed to do. Their theory clearly doesn't make sense, because why wouldn't the sun and moon crash into the Earth? And how would there be a flat disk rising upwards in space? It is controlled opposition meant to turn you off from Flat Earth. That's it. Freemasonry is the world's largest and oldest secret society, ranging up to 5 million members across the plane. NASA is full of Freemasons and run by them, and most of the heliocentric sciences throughout history were Freemasons, such as Newton, Galileo, Copernicus, and even Pythagoras was touted as one of the first Freemasons. The Jesuits and the Vatican own and fund almost every major telescope in the world, including one they call Lucifer. The Jesuits are also known to be connected or even possibly created by Judaism, and Zionist Jews have control over banks, industries, and corporations. Even Freemasonry, the secret society pushing this deception, is shown to have been created by Judaism. If you want to control someone, then the best thing to lie to them about is the very world they live upon. The world is run by psychopaths who want to keep us enslaved and lie to us. They tell us that we are just one out of a septillion other planets in space. They want us to think that we are meaningless and that we evolved from monkeys and that our lives have no purpose at all. They don't want us to know about our true origins, about where we live, about our creator, such as God, or even about our lives having meaning. They have made themselves as the highest authority and the keepers of the scientific knowledge, and we all work as their slaves from 9 to 5 every day, absorbing their lies as if it's truth. They have replaced our divine origins with the cosmic coincidence known as the Big Bang, and hide from us our true spiritual power and place on this intelligently designed flat Earth. No, scientists, pilots, engineers, and even some members in the government in lower positions are not even aware of this massive deception. All these people went through the same garbage schoolbook lies and indoctrination that the rest of us did. The only people who are aware of this lie and pushing it are the ones ruling our world, whoever they may truly be. For example, if Earth were truly a spinning ball, then why would the United Nations use a flat Earth map as their logo? Obviously, the true powers know something that we don't, and the rest of us are left here to discover it on our own. The flat Earth topic never ended, but just died down, and there are many great researchers leading the movement. In late 2014, Eric Dubay published The Flat Earth Conspiracy, which was the first flat Earth book written in nearly 50 years, and he began to make YouTube videos on the subject, and started the International Flat Earth Research Society, known as IFERS. There are great flat Earth YouTube channels to check out, such as ODD Reality, Beyond the Imaginary Curve, and many others, including myself, who try to use basic facts and repeatable, provable observations as evidence. It took me about 8 months of research before I finally accepted the flat Earth reality and decided to make flat Earth videos. Flat Earth is not a psyop. Just like many other great truth movements, the flat Earth movement has CIA agents, shills, and controlled opposition who try to steer the movement off course by using non-provable, repeatable, observable facts, but instead try to mix in disinformation with the flat Earth truth, making it look ridiculous. If you can look at the observable and provable facts, then you will be able to see the disinformation and avoid it. There are many great researchers, YouTube channels, and websites to visit who are spreading the flat Earth message. If the Earth is flat, then that means we are created by intelligent design and are not just advanced monkeys on a spinning ball going nowhere, but instead, our lives have a purpose and meaning. Humanity knowing its true origins and potential will cause an awakening which will destroy all the other lies we have been told. It isn't about the actual shape of the Earth that is the true matter. It's about the lie. The very fact that the psychopaths running our world would lie about the place beneath our feet shows the importance of knowing about the true shape of the Earth. The globe Earth model opened doors to many Freemasonic deceptions such as Darwinian evolution and alien space invaders. The flat Earth truth is one of the most important truths we can know, and it will bring down the system that has enslaved us and free humanity from the greatest of all deceptions.
So there you go. You still think NASA went to the moon? If you still believe that, you're ridiculous. Okay? You're just ridiculous.
Theorists tried to prove that Earth is flat, and it left an astronaut in disbelief. It's really no secret that Earth is spherical. After all, hundreds of images taken from space have proved as much over the past few decades. What's more, prominent thinkers have even come to the same conclusion 2 millennia ago. But according to some theorists, our planet is actually in the shape of a disk. And when one proponent of the flat Earth hypothesis gave his argument to a real-life astronaut, the other man was left in absolute disbelief. Up until around a couple thousand years ago, though, people predominantly thought of Earth as a flat plane. Things began to change in the 6th century BC, however. That was when philosopher Pythagoras introduced the idea of a round planet to his fellow Greeks. Then, a few hundred years later, Aristotle would give his own conclusive empirical proof of Pythagoras' theory. From then on, word started to spread, and people gradually accepted that Earth is in fact spherical. And while it took different lengths of time for the world's various societies to catch up, China, for instance, didn't come round to the idea until the 1600s, eventually everyone appeared to be unanimous on the truth. In the second half of the 20th century, however, modern flat Earth theorists began to come to the fore. The International Flat Earth Society was founded in 1956, for instance, with Samuel Shenton at its head. The organization was somewhat of a descendant of the 19th century Universal Zetetic Society, which itself was promoted by writer Samuel Rowbotham, and the hypothesis he'd outlined in his book, Earth Not a Globe. And in the late 1970s, the International Flat Earth Society would put forward its vision of what the planet truly looks like. According to the group, the Earth is in fact a disk. The North Pole is at its midpoint, while Antarctica is on the outer edge. Charles K. Johnson, Shenton's successor, pointed to the fact that the Society's map of the world looks like a UN flag as proof of the hidden truth. Today, meanwhile, there are a number of flat Earth theorists all over the world, including several high-profile celebrities. NBA star Kyrie Irving, for instance, revealed in early 2017 that he subscribes to the hypothesis. In September 2017, moreover, hip-hop artist B.O.B. launched a crowdfunding campaign to raise $1 million. With that money, the rapper hopes to send satellites and weather balloons into the atmosphere to help him find Earth's curve. Another such flat earther is Mark Sargent, who's based in Washington. And in November 2017, Sargent phoned into British daytime TV show Good Morning Britain to discuss his beliefs with none other than Terry Virts, a one-time astronaut for NASA. The show itself was hosted by ex-CNN presenter and America's Got Talent judge Piers Morgan and English journalist Susanna Reid. As a part of a segment on the flat Earth theory, Morgan and Reid introduced Virts onto the show. Morgan would go on to ask the former astronaut, moreover, how he knows the Earth is round. Virts stated that he'd flown around the planet at 17,000 miles an hour. If Earth was flat, then he wouldn't have come back. Then the host introduced Sargent, who revealed his own reasons for his beliefs. "Go to the beach with a high-powered HD camera and look off into the distance," Sargent said on the show. "About 10 or 15 years ago, you could see ships go over the horizon. Now you can bring them back into frame. All you have to do is crank up the zoom. Technology's changed everything. All the world's a stage." When the studio camera panned back to Virts, however, he appeared to be bemused by Sargent's explanation. And that probably came as no surprise. After all, he's a man who's traveled into outer space and even spent months aboard the International Space Station. Therefore, he's someone who's seen with his own 2 eyes just how round Earth is, and he seemingly couldn't just sit there and let Sargent tell the British public that the planet is actually flat. In response, then, Virts pulled out a copy of his latest book, featuring multiple astonishing photographs taken in space. He showed one of these to the camera, taken over the UK, and with the northern lights overhead. That clearly seemed to depict the planet's curvature. Reid then joked that the picture could have been doctored, a common argument put forth by flat Earth theorists. Morgan then suggested to Sargent that he was talking utter nonsense, but the flat earther countered the host by pointing out that the first blue marble shot of Earth, which takes in the entire diameter of the planet, was taken in 1972. However, the second such image, Sargent went on, was captured in 2015, some 43 years later. And Sargent then openly wondered why we'd gone 4 decades without any similar pictures of Earth being taken. However, a seemingly incredulous Morgan replied by asking why anybody would bother making up the lie in the first place. What would they have to gain from it? In response, Sargent simply dialed his conspiracy theory up to 11 by saying that the flat Earth cover-up is simply one part of a much bigger falsehood. Pulling out a model of the supposed flat Earth, Sargent said, "If this place was built, that means it was built by someone." He then suggested that whoever was responsible for creating Earth might also have been responsible for coming up with the round Earth theory, passing it down as a way to throw us off the truth. Vert's response, though, was simply to laugh and point out how impossible it is to keep secrets these days. Indeed, thanks to the internet and the rise of social media, how would these kind of large-scale cover-ups even work? That's a common counter-argument not only to the flat Earth theory, but to most conspiracies in general. Not that that stopped Sargent, who once again had an answer to Verts and the Good Morning Britain hosts. "You don't need 100,000 people to keep this thing a secret," he argued. "The only guys who need to be in on this are none of the wrench turners at NASA. All you need are the telemetry guys, and those bosses, and of course, guys like Terry." Then, in order to find out how deep Sargent's conspiracy theorizing goes, the presenters probed him on his other convictions. And in the process, they found that he doesn't agree that humans have landed on the moon, another matter that's been the subject of debate over the decades. Sargent doesn't believe that Elvis Presley is still alive, however, perhaps proving that there is a limit to what he's willing to question after all. And the Good Morning Britain segment hadn't marked the first time an astronaut had clashed with a flat Earth theorist. When B.O.B. first launched his campaign, for example, both Verts and Buzz Aldrin, the second man on the moon, tweeted about how they knew Earth is round because they'd flown around it themselves. Indeed, no matter how much conspiracy theorists like Sargent insist that the Earth is flat, there's plenty of evidence out there to prove otherwise. And when that evidence is totally and systematically ignored, it's no wonder that astronauts who've seen the truth for themselves, like Terry Verts, are left in disbelief.
Yo, what up? My name is Donut, and I'm a subterranean independent filmmaker, here with my friend Justin Parker to take you on an ancient journey of the firmament. Keep an open mind. The mind is like a parachute. It only works if it's open. If it's too open, a lot of garbage could come through. Is the Earth fat or flat?
We don't have time for a meeting of the Flat Earth Society.
That was a joke about the world being flat, right?
Was it?
Let's go way back to the ancient times of the Israelites, early Egyptians, ancient Norse, Germanic, Chinese, even Homer, all believed in a flat earth. The Torah, the New Testament, it was basic knowledge the earth we lived in was inside a firmament. The vast solid dome created by God, God's kingdom, kingdom. The Sumerians called the world an inverted plate in a salty ocean. The Hindus at Kapura says the world is carried on the backs of 4 elephants chilling on a turtle floating through space on a flat plane. In mathematics, a plane is flat. So are we on a flat planet, and do airplanes fly on a flat plane? Does it even feel like we're spinning 1,000 miles per hour when we stand on the earth? Can we trust our own senses? When we're in an airplane, the horizon is flat. When we go up high, everything is flat. You don't see any curvature. The spherical Earth idea started showing up with members of secret societies. Copernicus, Pythagoras, Kepler, Newton, Disney, and the entire Apollo mission were all part of secret societies. There's enough information out there to tell you about the heliocentric model, but today we'll be focusing on the flat firmament.
The psyche of the firmament.
The symbol of the firmament shows up in the human psyche as well, in all ancient cultures. The Vitruvian Man, Axis Mundi, even Carl Jung's archetypes of consciousness. This is because everything is a micro and macrocosm. The universe is you and you are the universe. The Fibonacci sequence proves this as we can see the pattern of the universe in everything. Why would governments and religious powers of today tell everyone that it's round now when it goes against doctrine? We saw governments and religious institutions burn people at the stake for heresy of claims that the earth was round. Giordano Bruno questioned that flat earth, and Galileo believed in a heliocentric sun-centered earth. Galileo was ordered to Rome for his heresy, forced not to speak publicly about this. But in 1632, he published a book stating that the heliocentric theory of Copernicus was correct. He was sentenced to lifetime in prison, but because he was famous and part of a secret society, he just got to stay home instead. Hey, like you during the lockdown, and digitally if you question the lockdowns. Now today, if you question the authorities, the authors, the authorities, you will be laughed at, ostracized, attacked, and called crazy, sentenced to being seen as an insane person by the masses. But with new technology like optic zoom lenses, we can see the curvature of the Earth is an illusion. If the Earth is in a firmament, we are not just random specks of dust floating through the universe by coincidence. This model proves that there is a creator, an intelligence that created us and this world, and well, should I dare say it, a God. There would be no room for atheism or Darwinism. Even science proves that there is an intelligence that is not us, that created us. As we cannot create or destroy anything technically, the law of thermodynamics, energy cannot be created or destroyed. The powers that be use deception. It's an art of war. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. Sun Tzu. It is a tool of mind control and power via manipulation. Satan is known as the Great Deceiver, and Satan is known to rule Earth. The firmament description in the Torah showed Sheol. It is a place of darkness, to which the dead go, aka Hades, aka Hell. And in this model we can see the flat earth in the firmament. Indoctrination means teaching someone to accept a set of beliefs without questioning them. Our whole lives we have been told the earth is round since kindergarten. We have been programmed since a kid to believe in the new religion of science.
These were all the smartest scientists on the planet. Only problem is, they kept being wrong. And what makes you think what your scientists are writing is any more truer than my sayings? Because there are volumes of proven data. Have you poured through the data yourself? The numbers, the figures? Well, no. You get your information from a book, written by men you've never met. And you take their words as truth, based on a willingness to believe, a desire to accept, a leap of faith?
Pop culture exposes the firmament in movies and music. Is this secrets hidden in plain sight? The Hunger Games shoots the dome and the firmament is revealed. The Simpsons movie, they are in a firmament. The Truman Show is a story of a man in a firmament. A Beatles song exposes the flat earth. Classical music, The Righteous Shall Be Had, exposes the firmament. Stephen King's It exposes the firmament. And then we got Shaq, part of a secret society, saying the earth is flat. And then we got Jake Paul, a Disney star. Disney's totally connected with NASA and the Flat Earth Disinformation Campaign, as Jake Paul puts out a documentary on the flat earth full of disinformation, just like this guy, who is also owned by Disney. And Obama, why is he coming out talking about the flat earth being a hoax? I want you to meet my friend Justin. He is who got me thinking that maybe there is truth to this model.
First off, I would like to thank Donut for having me as a guest, and I'd also like to say, what up, Donut? Hello, everybody. My name is Justin Parker, and I am known to many as many different things. To some, I am a comedic rapper or a graphic artist. To others, I am an animator, among many other titles you could give me. If you're watching this video, however, you might know me as one of the graphic artists Donut uses for his memes and promo images. I designed his VHS cases, which is another thing that I am known for. I have a brand called HorribleHomeVideo.com. Sorry about the plug there, Donut. But now that we have all of that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into why I'm speaking to you on the topic of flat earth. I've long since been interested in flat earth theory, for lack of a better label for it. In fact, Donut tells me I'm one of the people who introduced him to flat earth theory long ago when I would post about it on Facebook. This is back in like 2014, 2015. My biggest concern for the flat earth community is misrepresentation. That's the big one. There is a lot of misrepresentation on what flat earth is, or what it means, or what flat earth theory involves, and what those who subscribe to the theory of it believe it to be. You ever notice the memes that make fun of flat earth also tend to misrepresent the ideas and beliefs behind flat earth theory? Now maybe you noticed but couldn't quite put your finger on it, so let me explain what I mean. Oftentimes I see people posting memes mocking flat earth theory, and I call it a theory because I cannot prove it, and until I can go into space and prove it with a photo I took myself, then I can only refer to it as a theory. But on the same note, by the way, I think globe earth is a theory as well, and I cannot prove that either. I lean towards flat earth based on all of the facts that have been presented and researched myself. But back to the memes that mock flat earth theory and mislead others to slide it as well. Usually when I see memes making fun of flat earth theory, they show an image of a disc earth. I never said I believed in disc earth theory. I never said I believed in an earth that was disc shaped or donut shaped. No offense, Donut. I said flat earth theory. I would like to remind you of Antarctica and how we are not allowed to explore it freely. Not that we could, as we are not millionaires. I suggest we define flat earth theory as that exactly. Flat, not disc shaped, with a sudden end that we could fall off of. That is hilarious, and that's often why they'll use it in the memes. Why do they tend to forget that we also believe in the ice walls surrounding the flat earth? And is it not possible that that ice goes on for eternity? Maybe there's more land and other suns and other moons, but we do not know for sure. I do not know all of the facts of flat earth theory. I am not an expert. I am just one of the many voices behind it. But it makes a hell of a lot more sense than a globe covered in water spinning at an angle in space. I could go on, but you get how absurd that sounds. Flat earth theory is just that to me, a theory. But that is not to sell it short. That is just being intelligent about it. I'm always open to globe theory, and I will always question why they have to fake photos of the globe, and they do. in my time attending college, one of the professors had his brother come in. His brother had designed stuff for Disneyland, like rides, but he also had spent time working at NASA. He explained to us how they doctor all the photos of the universe, like when they take photos of the galaxies and stuff. You ever seen those pictures with the stars and the space and it's all purple and pink and blue and it's very pretty, but none of the photos look like that originally. They doctor them. So the very core question that brought to me was, of all the things, this is before I even knew about flat Earth, but of all the things, why are they doctoring photos of the stars? When I've asked others about this, they go, well, of course it's doctored. Of course they add colors. Oh, so you knew that? Because I didn't know that. I didn't know that until a person who was part of the team that does that. This was back in 2005 or 6 when this particular gentleman spoke to our class. This is just one of the many first little tiny things that got me thinking about bigger questions that some people are afraid to think about because it makes their brains hurt. And, ultimately it got me to flat Earth and other things. There's other things, but you have to question, why would I believe for a minute that a photo of a globe is real if photos of stars are even doctored, painted in Photoshop? That makes no sense. So where are we getting all these perfect pictures from? It's CGI, it's trick photography, it's all kinds of different means to get what they want. Anyhow, I will always question things like why I can see the moon and the sun at the same time on some days. Something about that only makes sense to me on a flat plane. I will always question anything being fed with force. But hey, if people want to live a happy, question-free life, that's fine. We are not all here to grow and be enlightened, I guess. Some wish to be pets and nothing more, and that's their choice. But I would like to leave you with one last thought. If the Earth really is a globe, why do those who believe in the globe get so emotional instead of hearing us out? We have heard their side of it since elementary school. So why too can they not be open-minded as we are, to at least hear us out? But instead they act with emotions, anger, disbelief. And that's the part that I don't understand. Anyways, back over to you, Donut.
Thank you, Justin. Round earthers and flat earthers will both agree that the moon landings are suspect. NASA, a Nazi program, and big governments and institutions are not to be trusted. The first moon landing Apollo was a secret society mission. All the astronauts were Freemasons. How did the Apollo lunar model get through the ionosphere? Why did all the moon landings tape go missing? What's up with the space bubbles? Planets look a lot like they do on movie sets filmed on Earth as we see in popular movies. Did Stanley Kubrick film and direct the moon landings? The government approached him after he made Dr. Strangelove because the military equipment he built on set looked so real, and Space Odyssey was created long before CGI special effects. He was an insider and knew a lot, which many believe led to his death for exposing secrets in his films. The movie The Shining, the kid's wearing a NASA space TV shirt. Was he trying to tell us something? Here's a picture when he met and worked with NASA in 1965, after the Apollo mission. Disney's part of the Nazi rocket program, creating NASA in America via Operation Paperclip. Disney's Pluto, the dog, is the shape of the desert of Pluto, created the same year they discovered Pluto the planet. NASA owns helium companies and the most helium of the world. Satellites keep falling out of space with balloons attached to them. Is this all fake for an illusion? These satellites for the masses?
Sci-fi hitting home for a Michigan couple when a satellite crash landed in their backyard.
Never know what's going to happen. This baby fell out of the sky and landed in our yard.
Nancy and Dan Welke, cool as cucumbers, discovering a satellite that had crash landed on their property, still blinking and still attached to a parachute. Turns out the satellite belonged to Samsung, which launched it just days ago as part of a PR stunt to do the world's first selfie in space.
How did they live stream the moon landings on TV for everyone to see in 1969 with no communication interruption? No fear that maybe something might go wrong and all the children and people watching it live, no worries about that? How did the president call them on the phone in real time? I still have trouble connecting and streaming to live streams today in 2021. And why have we not gone back?
Why has nobody been to the moon in such a long time?
That's not an 8-year-old's question. Because we didn't go there, and And that's the way it happened.
The Sputnik moment, the space race, was a good purpose to fake a moon landing, as we were at war. But explain, even in the time of war, why did we all sign the Antarctic Treaty, where governments at war would all agree on? The Apollo conference, after landing on the moon, their facial expressions look like they are keeping a secret. The time frame of the operations that led up to the Antarctic Treaty are suspect nonetheless. The Antarctic Treaty. The Antarctic Treaty and related agreements, collectively known as the Antarctic Treaty System, regulate international relations with respect to Antarctica, Earth's only continent without a native human population. Operation High Jump, 1946. This is maybe when they discovered the firmament. Operation Deep Freeze, 1955. Shortly after that, NASA founded in 1958. Shortly after that, Antarctic Treaty System, 1961. Shortly after that, Operation Fishbowl, 1962. Then the Apollo mission, 1962. Is this when they discovered the firmament and needed to cover it up worldwide for complete dominance and help set up for a coming fake alien invasion to bring in a one-world religion and government? A plan that has been around forever to rule the world? All this happened around the same time as the space race. Coincidence? Is Antarctica the edge of the Earth, the land that surrounds the world oceans, the Antarctic basin? Captain George Hubert Wilkins, a colleague of Richard Byrd, said 5,000 miles beyond Antarctica, they found land and found people beyond Antarctica in the early 1900s. Why is no one allowed to go to the North Pole?
Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this Earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. But strangely enough, there's left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being.
Let's get into some examples that maybe, just maybe, the Earth is flat. High altitude balloon. The Earth is supposedly spinning to the east at 1,000 miles per hour, which means the balloon is moving faster than 1,000 miles per hour. The balloon is outrunning the Earth spinning. The sun is supposedly 94 million miles away from Earth, but it seems like it's the exact same distance as the moon. The sun setting and boats going over the curve is an optical illusion, as we could see in these videos. Early world maps show the flat Earth. The Georgia Guidestones has a hole in the center of the stone. You can see the star Polaris, the North Star. For 40 years, that star has never moved from that hole. If we are traveling through space, why does the North Star not move? Is it the center of the Earth? Rocket Go Fast Rocket AZ crashed into the firmament, then started floating. It captured the plane of the Earth and the moon. The moon was over in New Zealand at that time, and this was filmed in Arizona. How is that possible to see the moon? Landing of China rover on Mars. They only show a CGI and everything looks fake. Elon Musk's Starship lands successfully for the first time and looks fake, showing us the CGI. Moon landing footage went missing. There's wires on astronauts in the space station. All the images we see in space and of Earth are all photoshopped. There are no new photos of Earth, and they are all so different looking. The Tesla Roadster, and Elon Musk said this about it. You can tell it's real because it looks so fake, honestly. A picture of Jupiter in 2014 and a picture of Jupiter in 2016, the clouds don't move. Tunnels, bridges, canals don't calculate for curvature. The Suez Canal, hundreds of miles long, there should be a mile drop. And there's not. Flat Earth maps, UN, International Aviation, World Meteorological, International Maritime, they all use the flat map. What are your thoughts? Is the Earth flat or fat? Put your comments below, like and share, and subscribe for more content like this.
Geocentricity to the flat Earth. Now, admittedly, the geocentricity isn't as the flat Earth, because the flat Earth, geocentricity, well, the Earth's stationary and everything else is moving. And, but I know this geocentricity is a little bit enticing for people, because people, they like to be like Buddha, where they take the middle way. You know how people like to be moderate or kind of like compromised a little bit? So they're like, okay, well, I'm not going to go flat Earth. But I'm not going to buy into the, the normal view of the solar system either. So I'm just going to kind of take a middle route, geocentricity and stuff like that, all the way back to ancient Egypt, ancient Sumerians, Romans, Greeks, whatever. But, people did believe in geocentricity for a long time, and that, that became...
narrating a documentary promoting geocentrism, that the Earth is the center of the universe, which many scientists and astronomers can agree, and many people, including myself. The guy in charge of this geocentrism documentary is also that NASA itself is going around taking down geocentrism websites.
And he proves that by saying if you go to NASA and look for those websites, they're not there.
Narrating a documentary promoting geocentrism. How evidence
I think it speaks for itself, Kim.
I don't think
they're nowhere to be found on NASA's website. So
Mm.
NASA took them down. I don't see any elephants. Oh no, you're good. That's working great.
Everything we think we know about our universe is wrong.
There is a crisis in cosmology.
This is the moment of truth.
All these things are rather strange, and we don't know why they're occurring right now.
We are in a special place. I do believe that the universe was created by God.
It's an exciting time for cosmology because everything has changed. If our Earth really turns out to be special, then I would say...
Yeah.
Nobody would say space is void of any properties. Sure.
So the idea of space travel is pretty pathetic. The idea of deep space is certainly debunked. NASA says we ought to put that on one of their rockets.
I give you the evidence of what you just said. We should see if the Earth is a ball, but yet you persist in believing the Earth is flat because you're going to make up an explanation to explain this away. I mean, you asked for evidence and I gave it to you, but you're not willing to accept the evidence when I give it to you.
It is flat, stationary, in an enclosed system with the sun, moon, and stars inside the firmament.
Some people believe that the world is flat, others believe it's a globe. Why are you so worked up about it?
Flat Earth matter. Described it as such in the creation account.
This is a simple debunk of a picture like this with this red water level. And it's a debunk of all claims of seeing curvature.
So,
from books to water, we have everything for the professional flat earther.
So,
freshly tossed word salad, guaranteed extra clear vowels. If you're a reactionary flat earther, you'll love our pre-prepared selection of spam. There's coarse spam, tasteless spam, crude spam, and dense spam. Just add it to any feed. And still available in the fruit section, individual cherry picking.
To check out NASA shield checks.
Are debunked. There is nobody seeing curvature. Everybody is only seeing some messed up optics, either some miraging or atmospheric masking, causing, if they believe they see things that are like the bottoms of boats disappearing over the ocean when they're standing on the beach and they see it, go out to sea and they go, oh,
so
look, the boat's disappearing over the curvature.
So
masts, but you can still see the rigging.
And this corroborates what Neil deGrasse Tyson says.
Nobody has seen the curvature of the Earth from that height. I just want to make that clear.
He says you can't see curvature. You're not high enough, even at 63 miles up.
So
things maybe you'll do in your life, go up, to high up and do a free fall. And she didn't find out. She didn't ask Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Oh, by the way, you didn't ask, but I'm going to tell you. Do you know how high up above the Earth he was?
No.
So if you take a
63 miles.
Well, yeah, say right. So take a schoolroom globe, and that's how high above it is he? So he's about 2 millimeters above the surface of a schoolroom globe. So nobody has seen the curvature of the Earth from that height. So nobody has seen the curvature of the Earth from that height. I just want to make that clear.
Okay, so I could end the video right here. There you go. If you're not seeing curvature from 62, 63 miles up, then you're not seeing it from the beach to 20 miles up.
fabrication. It's a fabrication. It's all lies.
So all you're seeing is this 360-degree circular horizon. Done. I could end it right here. It's over. Don't say anymore you see curvature or the result of curvature. All you're seeing is optics. You're seeing some poor optics that are creating illusions.
Hi Nathan, I've just been watching a pea-brain video. We've come up with an explanation for your black swan. Apparently it's all optics creating an illusion.
Oh, brilliant.
When he got up to the top, 63 miles up, no curvature can be seen. Wally Funk didn't see it. Neil deGrasse, world-renowned astrophysicist, is saying you can't see it. So
then I could see the curvature of the Earth, you know. I could see the curvature of the Earth, you know. I could see the curvature of the Earth, you know.
I just want to make that clear. Nobody has seen the curvature of the Earth from that height. I just want to make that clear. Euclidean geometry. Small sections of large curved surfaces will always look flat. So if you want to think the world is flat, will always look flat. Go right ahead. Will always look flat. Discovery and exploration got us out of the caves, and each generation benefits from what previous generations have learned. If I have seen farther than others, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants. When you stand on the shoulders of those who came before, you might just see far enough to realize we'll always look flat. Flat will always look flat. So
first of all, I'm angry that I've been lied to. I'm angry that my children have been lied to, and all future generations are going to continue unless people wake up to this. And I'm doing it to wake as many people up as I can.
One day and said, "You never guess what, someone at work thinks the Earth is flat." And I just laughed and went, "Don't be daft." And he said, "Yeah." She said, "Yeah, it's apparently it's a big conspiracy." That evening I thought, tell you what, let's have a look at this thing, see what it's all about. Come on, buddy. Didn't actually convince me there and then. I needed much more proof. But it also made me think, crumbs, there's a lot more to this than meets the eye. We believe in a geocentric model, a flat stationary plane, and what they've been told about a globe heliocentric model doesn't work.
You're right!
Some believe in a dome above, and some believe the plane goes on infinitely. But all flat earthers agree that there's no curvature, that water finds its level, and that we've been lied to. Conspiracies, really. The first thing a scientist has to do is actually follow the scientific method and go where the evidence tells what it requires. I think the globe model falls apart at every level when you start to scrutinise it, and that's the surprising thing. We see things off in the distance which should be hidden behind curvature. It's the number one proof we can see too far. Water itself always conforms to a level and it must be contained. So gravity somehow holds trillions of tons of water on the underside of a spinning ball, and yet a moth can just take off from a tanker in Australia without any effect whatsoever. I'm afraid are very fraudulent in this. They essentially set it up in 1956 to militarise space and just close it off to a general inquiry. They could then control the narrative and bring us our pictures from space. And I've seen many, many examples of the ISS footage clearly faked. Lots of things going on are wrong. Harnesses, green screens, VR. You know, those that present for NASA are clearly spokespeople and actors. I mean, look at Brian Cox, look at Neil deGrasse Tyson, look at Bill Nye. These guys aren't scientists. They're just compelling speakers. They're good, articulate speakers who are a good sales guys for the NASA model.
Because we're unhappy about the lies. We're angry about the lies. And we want the world's deception to be uncovered.
Flat Earth is like level 10 of
truth like this, and so when you do rock their boat and tell them, they'll want to get you as angry as you've just made them. And so it is hard, but thanks to the way the awareness is spreading, we're now in a place where we're able to talk about this to anyone and everyone. I think we're in a really, really good position right now to do street activism, and this is the way forward. There's no algorithm that can block this. You cannot stop this.
The Flat Earth truth has gone viral, and unfortunately the public has been completely put under a spell by this fake, phony garbage coronavirus. And before I get into this video, I want to show this aspect of duality As we know with the yin and the yang, the negative and positive, female and male, truth and lies, and definitely the truth with all the lies being put out there. Let's take a listen to what is said here with Valerie Joy Wilson, as you can see here on Fox News. Let's take a listen.
Next guest is a blogger known as the Trusted Travel Girl. But this past week, she told her followers to trust her warning. Quote, live update, coronavirus edition, I have it. I tested positive. I'm a huge germaphobe. If I can get it, anyone can. She's warning her fellow millennials not to take COVID-19 lightly. Travel expert Valerie Joy Wilson joins us now. Valerie, thanks for being with us this morning. What's the biggest thing, as someone who travels the world, what's the biggest thing you learned about this? The biggest thing I've learned about the virus? Yeah. From traveling? It spreads fast. I mean, the world is flat now in a sense that we're all very, very connected.
The world is flat now. Again, this is the concept, with all the lies that give us the truth, in the duality concept, and I should mention as well, of course, with the sun and the moon, how they circle above us, just like a clock, and it's the sun and the moon, the concept of night and day. And of course, this woman's just reading off the script. She's happy as a clam with that big smile, supposedly contracted the coronavirus, and it's like she won a lottery. Look at that face. Give me a break. Now, what does this remind you of? For those that follow my videos over the years, I covered this, I believe it was 2016, with Dr. Agus on CBS News. Again, talking about the Zika virus. Take a close listen, as I showed before, at what is said.
And we now know that these mosquitoes can get Zika virus very easily from biting somebody, and the world is flat, right? Zika will be the first of many viruses over the years because the world is flat.
Again, truth in plain sight. Once again, absolutely nothing new what they're doing. And of course, we all know about that term of flattening the curve. Let's take a listen here to this one news story from San Francisco, California, regarding the coronavirus once again.
Expected. Really, over the last week and a half, we have seen a flattening of the curve.
And again, with this so-called outbreak, mentioning a flattening of the curve, always, again, the truth in plain sight. And that brings me back to this tweet, which I showed in a previous video, with Tom Hanks all coded. Let's get a little bit better of a close-up look, as I showed before with Tom Hanks. And there's a lot of coded, nonsense in here. And as I mentioned before, with the 201 points when it comes to Jim Romney and being beaten by his wife, Rita Wilson, and 201, of course, has all to do with the event 201, this global pandemic exercise that took place in late 2019. Just an amazing coincidence. And of course, you have the orange, fake, phony bald earth. And as everybody knows that follows my channel, with orange being the only color in numerology that is 33. So basically, this 33 matrix we're living, this fake, phony world. Of course, we don't live in this globe. It's fake globe. And getting back to this tweet by Tom Hanks. And again, the very end here, where he states we are all in this together, flatten the curve. Just like you heard from this doctor with the first name Stephen. And Stephen, by the way, just happens to be a 33. And none of these people act like, this is a serious issue, of course. This so-called virus overtaking the world, this ghost virus, this phantom virus that is so deadly. None of these people act like I said previously, this is something really to be concerned with. And obviously, it's not for anybody that's awake. And getting back to the whole concept of the corona, with the corona typewriter, as you can see here, let's get a little bit of a close-up of the typewriter, as I shown previously, that Tom Hanks claims he brought aboard an airplane all the way to Australia before supposedly contracting the coronavirus. And he said it's his favorite typewriter. So he has to lug it around with him. And again, of course, bring it to the hospital where they're doing some tests on him. It's just an absolute complete joke. All this nonsense is going on in this world. And of course, you have the dual coronas. And corona, of course, as I mentioned before, in reversible reduction in gematria is 33. So you get, of course, you get your dual 33s, just like I showed many times with this Judge, Freemason, Grand Sovereign Commander with the dual 33s. Just like Madonna in her album cover, showing back of the album, and interesting enough, wearing the gloves. Like subconsciously, with the virus, the coronavirus, wearing the gloves, just a little bit of a close-up, and you see the corona on the typewriter. So what are the chances? Basically, the most famous female singer in the world, Madonna, and one of the most famous actors in the world with Tom Hanks, as you can see, along with all these line of dirtbags, Prince Charles, Prince Albert, you have the guy from Game of Thrones, the Bond girl, and Elba Idris, all scumbags, all liars, all frauds. And just like CNN's Chris Cuomo, supposedly contracting the coronavirus, and his idiot brother, Andrew Cuomo, just happens to be the governor. How? They're all connected. And this piece of garbage as well, Greta Thunberg, supposedly contracting coronavirus as well, or has the symptoms at least. What a joke this all is. But again, people are going to buy it because it's on TV, like I showed many times this quote. The American people don't believe anything until they see it on television. Yeah, Richard Nixon, absolutely no hero, but this is the absolute truth. And getting back to this prop, this typewriter that Tom Hanks, again, supposedly brought over from the U.S. to Australia, from his place where he was staying in Australia to the actual hospital, because it means so much to him for some reason. And the corona, the dual 33s, and again, you have the dual 33s with corona itself, and very symbolic with the corona, of course, as I showed many times, with this Order Out of Chaos logo with the 33, and very important, that crown, which is itself the corona. As you can see here, the corona, it's a wreath or crown. And of course, just like the World Health Organization, exact same logo as the UN logo, of course, and the 33 segments, as I showed many times. So again, you have the corona, meaning a wreath or crown. So again, you have your crown, you have your wreath, and you have your flat earth symbolism, once again, of course, with the logo itself. And as I stated before, you have the serpent, which represents the vipers that run this world. Now, very interesting here, when it comes to connections, again, when it comes to entertainment, truth in movies, lies in news, and in this case, with entertainment, with video games, take a look at this scene from Tom Clancy's Division 2. Take a close look, once again, to give us the truth in the duality aspect in entertainment. And what do you see right there? The virus is a hoax. So again, this is predictive programming 100%. And another scene, which possibly will be more predictive programming, again from the same game, Tom Clancy's Division 2. Take a look. As you see, this police car all beat up, and this is a society, that supposedly, potentially, will go down at some point where, there's absolute chaos. And I don't want to spread fear, but this is how they do it usually, putting truth in, again, entertainment. Let's take a look here. I'm going to stop right there. World Bank Group, and it says is broke right underneath it. And let's continue on. And again, it says the virus is a hoax. So this is how they do it. And another aspect here when it comes to truth and entertainment from this one video game as well, from this 1999 released PlayStation 1 game called Siphon Filter. Let's take a look here at the screenshot from the game itself. And with the character walking around, you see the UN logo, also the Flat Earth model, of course, the World Health Organization with the serpent, and you see the logo for this company, this biotech company called FARCOM. So again, the Flat Earth with the biotech. And again, it relates with coronavirus and supposedly this released virus by the biotech company in the book The Eyes of Darkness from 1981. As I showed in previous videos, as you've seen the book by Dean Koontz, The Eyes of Darkness once again, and this bioweapon that was supposedly engineered in Wuhan, China. And another portion of the book, it talks about this ammonia-like virus or illness that will basically disappear, will come and disappear in the year 2020. So definitely, this is a form of predictive programming, just like the video game, how it all ties in, where again, they give us truth in movies, music, entertainment, any form of entertainment, and again, lies in the news, definitely lies in the news. Now, in more flat earth truth, when it comes to video games from Black Ops, that was released by PlayStation 4 just a couple years ago, take a look at this scene. Unbelievable how they give us the truth in plain sight. And a lot of these fanboys with video games and NASA, they don't understand what's happening, what's right in front of their faces. Just take a look at here at the flat earth model in plain sight. It's funny, underneath it says, yay, science. Take a look. Definitely 100%, as you can see, the sun and the moon flat earth model. And it says underneath here, the text acquired from the black market reserves. And again, yay, science. Just mockery. And this is basically biblical, hanging over nothing. And so, again, they give us the truth in these places, just like this one video game that's, I believe, currently being developed. I'm not sure when the exact release date is. And it's called Solar Warden. And again, the flat earth truth in plain sight. And you see it here, it says here, experience the truth of Earth. And of course, the flat earth model again, the truth of Earth, again, mockery. Now, I find this very interesting here, where they show the flat earth, and this is a misrepresentation. Anybody that knows anything about flat earth knows this is all we have. We basically just have the flat earth with a dome, and deep space is nothing but a hoax. All we have is inner space. And what I find interesting is the dragon itself. It reminds me of this one scene which I've covered before in a video from Star Trek The Next Generation. Let's take a listen to the dialogue that is said here.
Of course, in ancient history at Starfleet Academy, about the time when men still believed the Earth was flat, and that the sun revolved around it, and that if a ship sailed too far out into the ocean, it would fall off the edge of the world. Beyond this place, there'd be dragons.
He says, beyond this place, there'd be dragons. And of course, it gets back to the scene here with the dragon. And as you see here, I just broke away from it momentarily, from the latest Star Trek series called Star Trek Picard, you see the breaking of the firmament, of course, mockery of God's firmament. And you see the star falling, the fallen stars, the fallen diamond from the sky. And it reminds me of this, of course, with Captain Picard. And again, they connect with flat earth. He mentioned the flat earth. They talk about the flat earth. And I have no doubt whatsoever the name Picard, besides being 33 in numerology, is spelled differently than this Picard, the scientist Picard. Dr. August Picard with the double C's from 1931 from Popular Science, where he mentions when he goes up 10 miles high and he sees a flat disc with an upturned edge. So definitely, the flat earth reference once again when it comes to the Star Trek episode with Captain Picard. No doubt whatsoever, the flat earth truth in plain sight, once again in the aspect of entertainment. Just like this scene I've covered before as well with this music video Korn. And just take a look here as you see the song called Coming Undone. And you see the firmament, the sky cracking, all in plain sight. Truth in plain sight. Once again, this is how they do it. Nothing's hidden in this world. They put the truth in plain sight. And again, getting back to the whole beginning of this video.
When you use applied science to debate pseudoscience, it's actually it's a lot of fun. It's humorous and funny, as much as it's extremely sad, because a lot of these guys, really believe this globe theory and hypothesis and think that, the real root of it all is they all think it's been proven. That's the real root of it all. And so they spew off all kinds of nonsense, not because they think they're right or their nonsense makes any sense. They do that because they think they're backed up by some real smart scientist that proved it for them. They think it's proven, and they're more than willing to go along with consensus to protect their egos. But it's a lot of fun to debate these clowns. Of course, they all say the same things, the same things. It is a religious belief, folks. It is a cult. Sorry to all you believers, but, you know, people like to pick on when they hear about this so-called flat earth. They love to pick on the people that are actually experimenting and exploring science and educating themselves. And they just love to chime in. You idiots, you don't understand consensus. All the people I know said it was a ball, so you're an idiot. Yeah, right. I get it. Coffee and Marlboros with Lucky Haskins. So they're always going to want to talk about outer space, the moon, the stars, everything other than the ground your feet are on. Don't let them do it, folks. Don't start talking pseudoscience with these clowns, okay? You can never win a debate about pseudoscience. Theories that are not proven can also not be disproven, or they'd be gone. That's why they make such wild theories. Why do you think these brilliant people that brought you this narrative came up with gravity? It's brilliant, folks. It can never be proven, of course, which is the actual issue. And they'd want to deflect you away from that actual issue and go, I just had a guy moments ago. That's what inspired me to make this video. I just had a guy telling me what an idiot I was because you know, I understand applied science and the scientific method. And I says, well, demonstrate your globe. What's his first thing out of his mouth? I don't need to. It's been done. And consensus shows it. He literally said that, which is, yeah, exactly, bud. Yeah, ego and consensus. But they really think it's been proven. So that's what you're up against. You're not really debating an individual because they don't really care. They're not thinking any of it through. They cannot think of an alternative possibility. Like these guys go, well, the sun can only work if it's a globe. Where the reality is, the truth is, there could be 100,000 different explanations for the sun. Understand? But they go, no, because our science guys would never get it wrong. They've proven it. There's no other explanation. It's proof. Well, there could be 1,000 explanations for the sun, folks. 1,000. Okay? It's real simple stuff. But when you reverse engineer something and trickery is built into it, you simply reverse engineer something and then you tell people what they're seeing. And as we've all witnessed, they fall for it. You're seeing the ship go over the curvature. There's still grown adults that will tell you, I've seen a ship go over the curvature. Give me a break, folks. The ships don't go over any curvature out of your sight. Sorry, folks. Been proven a long time ago. Disproven. That's an out-and-out lie. And the entire globe belief is laced with things that they tell you that because of your visual perception is proof of a globe, when it's absolute hogwash. Could be 100,000 explanations for your visual perception and how it works. What you're seeing, why you're seeing it. In my opinion, these folks are lost, you know, the ones that will blindly defend the globe. Now here, I told you guys yesterday, my favorite people to debate are the highly educated people because they actually understand the sentences and paragraphs that old Lucky speaks. These blind globe believers that tend to chime in the comment sections and stuff, they don't even understand what I'm saying. It cannot register. It will not comprehend because ego and consensus is so powerful. The indoctrination is so embedded in their mind. Again, they're just going to lean on that other smart people proved it for them, and they would never lie. Now, when you're debating an educated person or a scientist or a professor or any of those guys, engineers, they can understand when I speak. So I can get through to those guys real quick and they start to understand. Usually they stomp away, like you could witness in my last few videos back where I had two scientists trying to debate me, both using absolute nonsense. I called them out on their nonsense and they both stomped away. The one, first I got him to admit it's not demonstrable, which only real scientists and educated people will admit that it's not demonstrable because it's not demonstrable. But these blind believers, the followers of the cult, can't accept that or understand it. They don't even understand that the globe's never been demonstrated and it's non-demonstrable. They don't understand that. They just think it's been proven, right? So they don't even understand what the scientific method is all about, what demonstrable science means, and why demonstration is the key component to science. They don't understand why that is the foundation of science, okay? Because they've been led to believe that what they believe in is science. Pseudoscience is not science. Pseudoscience does not require demonstration. Pseudoscience does not require the scientific method. Pseudoscience does not require proof or evidence. It is simply wild speculation, reverse engineered math, theoretical physics, and commonalities used as proof. Circumstantial evidence, commonalities, things that fit your narrative, okay? But it's non-demonstrable. So with the scientists and professors and educated people, it only takes Lucky a few minutes to get them to admit that it's non-demonstrable. Once they admit that it's non-demonstrable, then you've really already got them in checkmate, and they'll try a few more times to take you back to outer space or the stars or the reverse rotation or the moon, the sun, the gravity, the tides, anything that they can to get you away, to stop explaining, to stop pointing out that they believe in pseudoscience. They don't want you to point that out. So once you get a scientist to admit that what he's talking about is pseudoscience, you're a few paragraphs away from getting him to admit that there's no proof of the globe. And I did that on my channel a few videos back. You can see it yourself, where he said, no, we don't have to prove the globe. There is no proof. Science is not about proof, he actually said, okay? So old Lucky can get a scientist to admit it's not demonstrable and admit it can't be proven, which is the truth. And that's what we're always trying to tell these blind believers and they chirp in groves and openly display their ignorance and claim that it's been proven. And it's been proven by guys that will admit it can never be proven. How do you like that? That's how confused these people are. They say, well, the scientists have proven it. And the scientists go, we can never prove that. The globe Earth is the furthest mismatch from theory to experiment. In other words, it disagrees with experiment. The globe Earth disagrees with experiment more than any other science ever to be accepted as science, ever. And nor should it ever be, okay? Because it's not accepted as science. It's taught as propaganda. Do you understand the difference? They need this agenda really bad. And if you look out your window today, you can see how successful it is. All these blind followers of the globe Earth one world religion that sit there and have excuse after excuse after excuse for why 3/4 of the population is batshit fucking crazy right now. Okay? Well, all of us crazy conspiracy theorists have been telling you this for years. Of course the people are crazy. When you believe in shit that is not even part of your reality and you're no longer living in reality, you are living in what's called psychosis. And when they keep pushing that envelope, it was very simple for them to lead the populace 2.5 years ago into complete and total mass psychosis. Now, these people who believe that the globe has been proven, the non-demonstrable, non-provable globe that they believe has been proven, instantly go along with all these other narratives. And instead of saying, wow, I'm completely psychotic at this point because I don't live in reality. Of course, they can't say that to themselves. They don't know any better, folks. So what do they say? Well, it's Joe Biden. Oh, it's that Donald Trump guy. It's the crazy, wacky left-wing people. It's them far-right people. Okay? It's the humans. It's us. It's my neighbors. It's why everybody hates each other, folks. Because of their ignorance. Ignorance. If you ignore the truth, well, we can look out our window and see the results, folks. Do you guys understand that everything is going perfectly? This has all been planned for hundreds of years, and it's going perfectly. The controllers are thrilled at the absolute ignorance of the people that they own and control. And the people just go along with it. Hey, man, the emperor's wearing clothes. Those are nice. I'm an honest person. They go along with the deception to get along. Ego and consensus. I always talk about psychology. Okay? This has been real easy for them, folks, because people will not let go of their ego to walk away from consensus. Okay? These blind believers that are in this globe cult, they can't be laughed at, so they can never question their leaders. Okay? I mean, by definition, same thing. A channel called Flatzoid yesterday, or I don't know when he made the video, but I seen his video yesterday, and it was really cool because he literally, somewhere he found the 10 ways you know someone's in a cult or whatever, the list of what it means to be in a cult, like the definition of a cult. Went down the top 10 list, and it's absolutely 100%. Every single one of them describes the globe believer. Every single one of them. And then, of course, his comment section's all full of people going, that's the flat earth. You guys are cult. You know, yeah, the guys that are trying to get you out of the cult are the cult. The guys that are telling you, you guys are being deceived really bad and following a false narrative, and you're going right along with the program, and you're supporting the enemy. You're not only supporting the enemy, you're aiding and abetting the enemy. You are contributing to your own slavery and don't know it because you're in a cult, and we're desperately trying to get you guys out of the cult. So what do? You guys are a cult. Yeah, right. The truth is a cult. I get it. The truth is a cult, folks. Applied science is a cult. We're supposed to be living a world of pseudoscience. Applied science and the scientific method is now a cult, and pseudoscience is the normal. That's what you call mass psychosis, folks. That's why the world is ape shit, upside down, inverted, batshit crazy. That's why people are willing to pay $5 a gallon for gas and $6 for a carton of eggs, okay? Because they don't know how to do anything about it, because they don't understand reality in any way, shape, or form. They have no idea that it's their fault. They don't get it, folks. They like their pseudoscience. They'd rather kill us than allow science to advance, okay? They want to close that book really bad, folks, which is, of course, horrible for science and the opposite of science, right? They want that book closed. They don't want old Lucky going outside and doing any experiments. Trust me, folks. They want that book closed. The globe earth is not science. It's not demonstrable. When you can demonstrate your globe, then, and only then, let's talk about the moon and the stars and the heat transfer in the molecules of the thermosphere. Until then, don't bother telling me that we can put a Tesla motor car in space. Speaking of propaganda, folks, what does Lucky always tell you? There's only 5 or 6 major pieces of propaganda going on right now, right? And it's all the same. And the biggest ball earth programming that's been used since the latest hoaxes have been going on is, of course, yours and my favorite guy, favorite agent against humanity, Elon Musk. Now, the amount of people that fell for this Elon Musk propaganda is through the roof because it's brilliant propaganda. Okay? Tesla Motors, when he started that, I told y'all, it's ball earth propaganda. What are they selling? Civilian space travel. Why are they selling civilians in space? You understand, these normies think Elon is a civilian. They think he's a normal guy. He's like you or me that started a space agency. That's what they believe. Because the propaganda is highly effective. It's highly effective propaganda. And I told you guys a couple years ago this was coming. Ball Earth programming was going to go through the roof. Why are they selling civilian space companies? Why is that important? Because the government's narrative is falling apart. And of course, they know this. They saw this coming because they're the ones that create this narrative, folks. They knew people are not going to be getting their news from CNN anymore. They knew people are going to start to mistrust NASA. So what do they put in? And does it work? Are you kidding me? If you tell somebody, well, NASA's just a fake space agency, what does the Globie say? Elon Musk. Because they fall for propaganda so easily, folks, because the indoctrination is that powerful. And the globe Earth has no foundation. These people have nothing to stand on. It's non-demonstrable science. It's pseudoscience. So they need shit to latch onto to continue to make themselves feel like they're right, because their ego is so powerfully controlling their beliefs, they can't let go of consensus because their ego won't let them. So Elon Musk's entire job is to sell to the masses the idea that civilians can build rockets and go to space, and civilians can go to space. That way, the people who are trying to get people to learn the truth can no longer say all of the government-controlled space agencies are in on it. And of course, Elon Musk is 100% government-controlled. Now, when I say government, I'm not talking about what the Globe Believer thinks is the government. The Globe Believer thinks Donald Trump and Joe Biden are governments. Okay? They believe that. Those guys are actors working for some very powerful people.
We have learned so much from Flat Earth believers. We have learned about our education system, freedom of speech. We thank them that they sparked a discussion on science communities about the consequences of a flat Earth, if it could even exist. So in this video, we will analyze what would happen if the Earth was flat. Before going into that, let's take a minute on how Aristotle came to the idea that the Earth is round. He wrote,
"Again, our observations of the stars make it evident not only that the Earth is circular, but also that it is a circle."
Another Greek thinker and mathematician, Eratosthenes, went further and managed to measure the Earth's circumference. He discovered that at noon in one Egyptian city, the sun was directly overhead, whereas in a different city, the sun did not rise quite so high. Eratosthenes knew the distance between the two cities, measured how high in the sky the sun rose to in each at the same time, then did some trigonometry. His method was crude, and NASA were all wrong all along. What if our flat Earth time travelers are speaking the truth? This is quite an interesting topic. Gravity fails terribly. First of all, a pancaked planet might not have any gravity. It's unclear how gravity would work or be created in such a world. That's a pretty big deal, since gravity explains a wide range of earthly and cosmic observations. The same measurable force that causes an apple to fall from a tree also causes the moon to orbit the Earth and all the planets to orbit the sun. Solar problems. Then there's the sun. In the scientifically supported model of the solar system, the Earth revolves around the sun because the latter is much more massive and has more gravity. However, the Earth doesn't fall into the sun because it's traveling in an orbit. In other words, the sun's gravity isn't acting alone. The planet is also traveling in a direction perpendicular to the star's gravitational tug. If it were possible to switch off that gravity, the Earth would shoot away in a straight line and hightail it out of the solar system. Instead, the linear momentum and the sun's gravity combine, resulting in a circular orbit around the sun. If the sun and moon just loop around one side of a flat Earth, there could presumably be a procession of days and nights, but it wouldn't explain seasons, eclipses, and many other phenomena. Magnetic field. Deep below ground, the solid core of the Earth generates the planet's magnetic field. But in a flat planet, that would have to be replaced by something else. Perhaps a flat sheet of liquid metal. That, however, would rotate in a way that creates a magnetic field. Without a magnetic field, charged particles from the sun would fry the planet. They could strip away the atmosphere, as they did after Mars lost its magnetic field, and the air and oceans would escape into space. Here are some simple experiments you can do without any tool or special knowledge. Revealed because your position has changed. Watch a sunset. Pick a nice spot from which you can watch a sunset. We'll call this point A. Ideally, you'd have to have a clear horizon in front of you, and behind you would be some sort of elevated point that you can quickly access. A hill, a building with at least 2 floors, or perhaps the aforementioned tree. We'll call this point B. Watch the sunset from point A, and once the sun is out of sight, hurry on over to point B. With the added elevation provided by point B, you should be able to see the sun above the horizon. If Earth were flat, the sun would not be visible at any elevation once it had set. Because Earth is round, the sun will come back into your line of sight. We know that all those arguments will not convince others, but at least they will spark a meaningful all flat Earth, 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 all flat.
Let me start from the beginning here. A while ago, we made a documentary in mock form. Let's call it a mockumentary. A parody, trolling the flat Earth community. We infiltrated the flat Earth community under the guise that I, Logan Paul, convinced by my friend Mike, believes that the Earth is flat. We don't, but we made a very strong satire. It was like a hit piece on the community. Now we interviewed the flat Earthers at this convention that we went to, and we got consent forms and waivers and permission for them to be in the film from every single person we interviewed. One guy who was standing there with a rocket. Apparently, he shoots himself into space with this homemade rocket so he could prove that the Earth is flat, so he could see it. We're not relying on NASA. I'm gonna do it myself. And he built it. I think he had a couple successful runs. His name was Mad Mike Hughes. He was on Tosh.0. He was great. He was super passionate about building these rockets and on his mission to prove that the Earth is flat. We learned that he's notorious for suing people that make him look bad.
Suing the living shit out of people.
For defamation of character.
No.
Sure enough, 3 months later, lawsuit. Mad Mike Hughes suing Logan Paul and Mike Malak. I was glad that
My first ever lawsuit. First
one.
lawsuit ever. For this, at least.
For $500,000 in damages. And he wanted us to go to jail for, I was going to say 5, but you're holding
3 years. Yeah, I was given 2, so I'll just do 1. Three years in jail and $500,000 in damages.
Those YouTube AdSense monies weren't that great back then.
And it was a real lawsuit, like not some bullshit. Like he wasn't just saying it on Twitter. The legal team over at whatever got involved, and they were monitoring the situation, and it was still ongoing. And even up until a week or so ago, we had heard about it.
Yep.
We flew home from Las Vegas yesterday, and when we got off the plane, we found out that Mad Mike Hughes crashed his rocket. He's dead. Mad Mike Hughes is dead. He crashed his steam-powered rocket and perished in the accident.
Yeah.
What a legend, though.
I mean, just they call him Mad Mike Hughes.
Live by the sword, die by the sword.
Daredevil
man.
facts, dude.
He's like Evel Knievel, kind of.
Very much so. Yeah.
Backyard rocket scientist. That's legendary.
Yeah. So what happened was I saw the video. Upon takeoff, the parachute got ripped off of the rocket, and so he just, bro, it was actually horrifying. He just nosedived into the earth and obviously was just killed upon impact. So I mean, rest in peace. And all his friends, everyone in the flat Earth community. Like, although, like, I definitely don't think the Earth is flat. I gotta feel for y'all here, because he was definitely a front runner in the movement.
I don't wish
he made it up to space and on his way back down. He didn't make it up to space.
Yeah, the rocket
on the way up. Yeah, they're not space rockets. They're like
steam powered.
Like, how high is he going? Probably. I would say its final answer 1,000 to 2,000 feet.
That's
maybe.
it.
That's it. He's not going very high.
And he was trying to read the curvature from that height.
Yes.
Like from that height.
Why don't you just take a plane?
Yeah, I never wish badly upon anyone, even someone suing us. Like it really is unfortunate. And I did see, once again, back to the negative side of the internet, I did see some really nasty fucking comments.
Dude, the tweets on the thread, I don't even know if I can read them because they'll be taken out of context. I actually don't think that's, but the
only thing that I would say is, yeah, nothing.
They're saying
the only
here,
thing I would say is nothing.
They're saying here at the bottom of this article that it was worth it for him to have this incredible death to create awareness for the movement.
It did go viral, yeah.
I'm gonna be honest. That's where I'm gonna put my foot down and say, like, please stop, please stop. Look at how many signs you need before it's like, yo, cut the shit. People are getting hurt. People are dying, trying to prove that the Earth is flat. Just like I've said it so many times in this podcast, because we did get involved. Like, it's over. It is so over and done. It was like a wave for a little bit because people formed little cliques and wanted to be a part of something, but it's done, dude. The Earth is round as a baseball, as spherical as a testicle.
They would say,
that was bad.
They would
I
say,
shouldn't have said that.
Do you know how many?
Because testicles aren't even spherical. They're They're ovular.
They're close. Yeah, but so is the Earth.
The Earth is pear-shaped.
Yeah, that's
so
what I'm
maybe
saying.
that was
The Earth is pear-shaped. What are you talking about?
Oh, you didn't know?
What's your
Ask
problem?
Neil
Have you ever seen
deGrasse
a
Tyson.
pear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
It's got a
Earth is
stem at the-
pear-shaped.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
I don't
It's
believe it.
it's a weak pair. It's a weak pair. Since the Earth is flattened at the poles and bulges at the equator, geodesy represents the figure of the Earth as an oblate spheroid. The oblate spheroid or oblate ellipsoid is an ellipsoid of revolution obtained by rotating an ellipse about its shorter axis.
Right.
Refining the Earth's pear shape. I actually heard this from Neil deGrasse Tyson. So if you're gonna come at me, come at Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Yeah, but it's not a pear. A pear is, dude. A pear is like,
dude. It's a weak pair. It's not. It's like
Oh,
this.
no,
like,
it's not. It's
yeah,
not
it
the
is.
first one.
It's like this.
It ain't the first one.
bullshit.
It's
bro.
like this.
No way.
No, it's not.
It is.
It has a big
way.
stem growing out of the top of it.
How are you gonna?
I think it's like this. Actually, that looks so stupid.
This is ridiculous.
I just heard it, bro, on Joe Rogan.
I mean, dude, it's totally possible. Things could have fallen off. Like, who knows? There's no way it's a perfect sphere. I get that, but I mean, it's got to be a little bit not shaped like a pear.
Third row in the middle.
This one?
Down. No, down.
This one?
Down. Down.
This one?
Yeah. What's that say?
Oh.
I like the one on the left. I could believe that. Neil deGrasse Tyson first says that.
Next, I'll tell them the Earth is shaped like a shiitake mushroom.
Oh, wait, I'll see.
Oh, I think this is a meme page.
Yeah. You
Man,
got to get caught because some people will come across this and believe it.
You really? I mean, which one of those looks is the Earth?
Yeah, you just definitely said the Earth is not flat and then said it's shaped like a pear. I need you to
Yeah, I
make a
think you might
decision
end up
here.
with some issues. People to stop searching this or stop working on this theory that the Earth is flat.
I hate it.
Yeah, but they would say that this is the same kind of thing that the apostles heard. You know, or like you know what I'm saying? Like they
Old
are so
Testament
this
stuff.
is they're not just gonna be like Mike Hughes is dead, our theory is over, and more so. Logan Paul has publicly shunned us and told us to stop this.
Wait.
Like if anything, that's gonna fuel their shit more.
Hold on a second. I know that. I've done it before. The whole mockumentary was about it. I have no problem bringing awareness to it. I just, like, users,
I get that.
Stop wasting time trying to prove something that has been proven the opposite for hundreds of years now.
Unless you're that Steve dude. What was the dude's name, Steve? Where he's like, hello.
I don't know, but he was great.
Is this
Robert what?
We love Robert.
I wish we could.
I love their enthusiasm. I love them as people. They're fascinating to me. That's why we did what we did. They're awesome. They're entertaining. But like, yo, is there a chance they're trolling us?
Yes.
Totally possible.
Yeah.
Are we the idiots here? No. They're still the idiots. I don't think so. I think they're elevated. I think they're operating on a level that we can't even comprehend. They're trolling the entire world.
The flat world.
Wow.
They're trolling
the entire pear-shaped Earth.
They are. I think I convinces people to believe this somewhat fringe thing that maybe could be technically true.
Quick unpopular opinion too. I heard this the other day in Vegas right before we left. Supposedly, the argument between Jake and Zane was about the flat Earth.
No, impossible.
Whoa.
Really?
And
You heard it here first.
And Zayn Malik is actually a hardcore flat earther.
Oh, no way.
And Jake was trying to argue him, and Gigi Hadid is